October 22nd, 2024. If I could have the Madam Clerk do the roll, please.
Commissioner Barnett.
Here.
Commissioner Baxter.
Here.
Commissioner Bernard.
Here.
Vice Mayor Marino. Here. Mayor Sachs.
Here.
Commissioner Weiss.
Here.
Commissioner Woodward.
Here.
Thank you.
You got the prayer. Very good. Very good. Thank you. At this time, I'm asking Commissioner Weiss if he could do the invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise if you're able. Dear God, we are thankful for this day that you have given us, for its blessings, its opportunities, its challenges. We pray for strength and guidance for each day as it comes, for each day's duties, for each day's problems. May we be challenged to give our best always, and may we be assured of your presence with us. Amen.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now, looking at the agenda, do we have any additions, deletions, or substitutions?
Good morning, Mayor,
Good morning, Ms. Baker.
Vice Mayor, members of the board. On page 84, we have an add-on 4C1. This particular one is the county's living wage ordinance, and it's being revised to provide for the definition of a number of things and also to bring us in line with the most recently passed legislation. In addition, on page 93, we have 5C2, revised motion, and staff recommends the motion to approve, authorize, dealing with Vanderbilt University. On page 98, we also have a resolution asking the board for temporary waiver of building permit fees. That concludes our additions, deletions, and substitutions.
Very good. Thank you so much. If I could have an adoption of the agenda as, thank you, I have a first and I have a second. All those for, anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously, 7-0. Now, looking at the consent agenda, which starts on page 12 and goes to 81. Does any commissioner wish to pull anything from the consent agenda at this time? Vice Mayor Marino, you're recognized.
I would like to pull item 3G2 from the consent agenda, please.
Very good. Any other commissioner like to pull anything from the consent agenda at this time? Very good. The mayor would like to pull 3E9 and 3E10 from the consent agenda. And I would like to reorder the agenda at this time to reflect that 5C2 will be called first on the regular agenda. Now we're going to move on to public hearings.
Mayor,
Yes,
can I get the motion to adopt the consent agenda as amended? please?
very good. That's a good idea. Let's have, is there a first to approve it? Very good. Commissioner Baxter, and a second by Commissioner Barnett. Are those for? Anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously, 7-0. Now we're going to move on to the public hearings, which are on page.
Mayor, did you do the motion for the reorder?
No, I did not.
Okay,
That's
let's
a
do
good
that
idea
next.
also. Let's have the motion. I'm going to have Commissioner Baxter first and a second by Commissioner Weiss to approve the reorder of the agenda. If I have any opposition, otherwise everybody is for it. See that it passes unanimously, 7-0. Very good. Now, we're going to move on.
Mayor,
Yes.
did you indicate that you're doing the pulled items on the regular agenda?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, very good. So now we're going to go on to the public hearings on page 82. If we could all refer to that at this time. Okay. Looking at 4A1, Facilities Development and Operations. Does anybody wish to have a staff report at this time?
Madam Mayor,
Or
can I
should-
make
yes.
make a motion to receive and file proof of publication?
Very good. Have a second. All those for. Anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously, 7-0.
Mayor, could I have the second on that stated for the record,
It
please?
was Commissioner Weiss. Very good. We have to get you a higher seat. Not easy to see everybody. Okay, and that would include 4A, 1, and 4B, 1. If I could, do we need to have a staff report on this at this time? I think would be included. Very good. Okay. And that would also include 4, okay, 4A1. Now we're on 4B1. No, we have to do 4A1. We did.
When do we do?
We haven't. Okay. If I could have a staff report then on 4. Commissioner Baxter.
Sorry, Mayor, didn't you wanted to put 5C2 first?
Yes, but we're on public hearing right now.
And
That's
then
for
you
the
want to do
agenda.
for the regular agenda?
That's a reorder of the agenda. Okay, so we're going back to 4A1. I believe that we already approved this, but, no? Okay, no, we did not approve it. Okay, so we're going to have a discussion on it at this time. Ms. Baker?
This is public hearing, so we need to do a motion to receive and file for
did.
publication.
We did that.
And then we need to do 4A1.
Yes, we did. Okay, very good. Good morning. I have some lights on. Ms. Baker, you've spoken. Vice Mayor Marino, have you spoken, or would you like to speak?
I just have a question. We pulled three items from consent, and when do you plan to?
At the end of the agenda. That's why we reordered the agenda.
Well, we reordered because you pulled something forward. You didn't, normally when we pull items from consent, we hear them right after we.
That's correct. That's
So
correct.
we're not doing that today.
No, it's not. It's
Okay.
correct. Okay, moving right along. If we could have, Isami, you go right ahead.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor,
Morning.
and Commissioners. It's Samia Ayala, Director of Facilities Development and Operations. With me today is Purvi Bugaita, Director of Facilities Developments and Operations, Real Estate and Property and Real Estate Management Division, and Howard Falcon, Chief Assistant County Attorney.
Thank you so much, Ms. Isami. Let me check with my colleagues. Does everybody wish to have a staff report, or have we been briefed sufficiently on this issue?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to remove item 4A1.
Okay, we've got 2 seconds, a second to my left. So we have the first, Commissioner, right, and you've got it all. Okay, all those for, anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously. Congratulations, it was a good staff report. 4A1, and let me make sure that I have this correct for the record. That takes care of 4A1, and that includes 4B. Ms. Coughlin? No. So now we're going to discuss 4B1, and it looks like we have very good staff coming up. So if everybody's okay, we will hear a staff report,
Yeah, this one too.
okay? Very good. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Administrator Baker. Before you is the public hearing for adoption of an ordinance of the Board of County Commissioners related to the Certificate of Public Conveyance and Necessity, otherwise known as COPCN. We do have a brief presentation if you would like us to go through that for you briefly, but just wanted to point out this is an item that the board, we brought up. We had some extensive conversations before the Board of County Commissioners. The board gave us some very detailed and specific input, which we went back and I would say probably in record pace have come back to you with what is before you today, which is a change to the existing ordinance that allows us to open up the application process to receive applications. And we're not deciding on what those applicants are or who the providers are going to be or how many there are within what the changes we brought to you today. Today is merely to allow us to open that up in the short term and then to bring back recommendations to you that staff and the EMS Council will have an opportunity to opine to you, and then you will have that final decision in February of next year. So we basically reduced the schedule in half, and we'll share a little bit of that with you in this particular presentation, and I'll turn it over to Stephanie Shanahaw to help walk through that if you'd like.
Very good. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Todd. Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and Administrator Baker. So just to kind of give you a history of what's happened since we received direction back in May. So on June 15th of 2021, the Board of County Commissioners approved three COPCNs, which are Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessities, to the companies American Medical Response, Medics, and the Healthcare District for the period of July 1st, 2021 through June 30th of 2027. On May 7th, the board directed staff to provide an update on the EMS ordinance, specifically on the secondary COPCN process. And then on July 18th, the EMS Council voted to amend the EMS ordinance and revise the 6-year timeline for the secondary COPCN application process to add additional providers prior to June 30th of 2027. And then again on August 27th of 2024, the staff provided an update to the BCC on the EMS ordinance, specifically on the secondary COPCN process. So at that meeting, staff, as Todd mentioned, were asked to expeditiously prepare a proposed amendments to the EMS ordinance. The amendment will establish a process for opening an additional secondary COPCN application period, and it will allow the issuance of an additional secondary COPCN prior to the current 6-year term that's outlined in the ordinance. So I just wanted to briefly go over the 3 types of COPCNs that we issue here in Palm Beach County. One is a primary, and that's mainly to your county and municipal fire rescues. When somebody calls 911, they respond to transport that patient to the hospital. The secondary, which I'll go into in a second, is what we're here today for. And then there's also a special secondary, which is non-transport ALS services that are provided within a gated community. So with the secondary service providers, which is why we're here today, they provide ALS transport and ALS and BLS interfacility transport services. ALS is your higher level of medical monitoring. BLS is your lesser level of medical monitoring. The applications for the COPCN, as I mentioned earlier, are issued every 6 years for a 6-year term. The current providers, as I mentioned earlier, are these 3 companies, AMR, Medics, and the Healthcare District. So now we're going to go into the actual revisions to the EMS ordinance. Next slide, please. So this is the timeline associated with what has already occurred, as well as what's going to happen moving forward from today if the board approves the amendment to the EMS ordinance. So on September 19th, the EMS ordinance was reviewed by the EMS Council. Then it was also reviewed and approved by the League of Cities. Then a few weeks ago, this board approved the first reading of the EMS ordinance, and then today we're here for the public hearing. So after today, again, if it's approved, we will open up applications this Friday for a secondary COPCN. We will then have a period of time where we review those applications, and then on January 3rd, our application review will be complete. We will then recommend to the EMS Council at a regularly scheduled EMS Council meeting on January 16th the applications for approval or denial. And then on January 22nd, we'll also present those applications to the League of Cities. And then on February 11th, we will present the applications for review and approval or denial to the Board of County Commissioners. So I wanted to go over some of the proposed amendments. There's conditions that are set forth in this amendment, which are part of the revisions. So after the 3rd year, which is what we are in today, or where we are today, of a 6-year term, a review may be conducted to determine if there is a public safety need for additional secondary providers. And that was part of the administrator's report that I provided in the agenda item today. The administrator will then provide the BCCA report of review and analysis. And then the Board of County Commissioners will determine if there is a public safety need and direct the administrator to open an additional secondary application period, which is also a motion as part of the agenda package today. The application period will be in addition to the regularly application period that opens every 6 years. And then public notice will include the time period of applications that will be accepted and processed. And then if applications do not meet the public safety needs to the county, the administrator may cancel the application process and/or reopen for an additional application period. So these are the current secondary COPCN application requirements that are already in the EMS ordinance, and I thought it was important to go over. So first, we require the number of agency vehicles, the personnel roster, a proposed rate structure, audited financial statements, summary of the history's applicants' services, performance records, non-refundable application fee, the disclosure of litigation involving patient care, federal, state, local agency, vehicle, and staff inspections for the past 6 years, formal quality assurance system, an emergency medical dispatch program, or an agreement with an appropriated EMS service, and then a letter from the CEO or the fire chief that the agency met the federal, state, and local requirements on delivery of EMS. So the proposed additional secondary application requirements are a proposed start date by this new provider, a list of all the vehicles in the state of Florida, the number of vehicles dedicated to Palm Beach County, the number of personnel dedicated to Palm Beach County, and we also asked for additional information that's not going to be a disqualifier, but do they have an automatic vehicle locator system? That is something that this board had addressed at the last meeting, and we thought we would include that as part of the application. So this is the timeline. If you recall, at the last meeting, we discussed the major ordinance rewrite that we're going through right now. As Todd mentioned earlier, this is just to open up an additional application period, but there will be a major ordinance rewrite that's going to be coming to this board later. So that timeline is associated here. And so I wanted to just kind of go over, again, where we are with that. So in June of 2026, or of September of 2025, the ordinance revisions will be presented to the EMS Council, so that's next year. October of 2020, so basically we'll end our application period that if this board directs us to open it up, we'll end that in February, and then a few months later, we'll work on the EMS ordinance revision, the major ordinance rewrite. October of 2025, the League of Cities will also hear the major ordinance rewrite. In November of 2025, we'll then brief the board on these changes. We'll then have a first reading in December of 2025, and then we'll take it to the board as a public hearing in January of 2026. And then, as part of the 6-year timeline, we'll then open up those applications again in June of 2026. That's for the AMR, Medics, and Healthcare District. Those applications, or those COPCNs will expire, and they'll have to reapply again. So that process is outlined here. And then so there's dates associated with that. I don't need to go into too much detail, but those will be awarded January of 2027. The board will approve new COPCNs.
And just to be clear, any applications that are approved by the board under the new ordinance that we're bringing forward to you would also have to go under this same application and review period on the expiration of the existing ones that we have as well. So they will all line up to the 6 years going forward at that time as well.
Thank you, Todd.
Very good.
So this slide just shows that the EMS Council and the League of Cities unanimously recommended approval of the EMS ordinance revisions that you're seeing today. And with that, that concludes my presentation. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay, very good. We have a couple of questions. I'm going to start with Vice Mayor Marino.
Obviously, this was personal. Hate it when that happens, but I do appreciate you taking the time to do this. I do also want to make it clear that this is only, what we're doing today is only for a 3-year period. And so whatever we do today will still, in 3 years from now, have a more grand process.
Correct.
All right. I know there'll be more comments, but I will make the motion to adopt an ordinance, so B1A, B, C, and D.
And before we go, now I will recognize the second from Commissioner Weiss. We also have questions or comments by Commissioner Baxter and then Commissioner Woodward. Commissioner Baxter, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you, staff, for the presentation. I do agree. I like that we are opening this up, but part of that rewrite, I would like to see us open this up to an additional, and put a number on it in advance of it going through the two committees. I'd like to see an additional 3 potential providers and not lock it down by zones. I think if one provider can get somewhere faster during the rewrite, I'm not saying part of this change today, we're already going to vote on that. I'm saying going forward, okay? I would like to see us not lock these down into zones from these providers. Whoever can get there the fastest. We have huge wait times. It's a huge problem, as we know. So whatever we can do would be amazing. Thank you.
Okay, now this is going to be what Commissioner Baxter has requested is going to be part of what you will review. Help us out a little bit.
So if we could just share with you what, on the staff side, the process, when we review the applications that will come in to us through this application process, staff will review those as they look at some of the need that we have in the community, and that's why we're asking questions like number of vehicles, number of personnel, availability, date to begin service, just because we know that, for example, when we granted the last COPCNs, at least one of those providers
Right.
wasn't able to start service till 12, 18 months later. We want to make sure in this shorter period of time that we have, for us, we're going to use that as an analysis and data collection time as well. And that way, when we go to the next round for the 6-year, we've got a better data set when we have additional competition in the field of understanding what that need is. I think, we haven't specifically set a number of applications that we'll bring back just because we don't know how many we're going to get in. We might get 1, we may get 2, we may get 10. And I think that from our perspective, we wanted to reserve the right for the Board of County Commissioners to be able to decide based on staff's recommendation, the EMS Council's recommendation, and you as the final arbiter to have that flexibility to determine whether or not you wanted to add 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, or whatever that number was. What we're going to look at, I think, with a staff lens is just trying to get that right balance for you, at least in the short term, and that'll give us some more information for the long term of the 6 years coming back. The EMS Council, as they did last time, might see things differently than staff does, and they, in the ordinance, are charged with providing that recommendation to you as the board, so they may have a different recommendation than that, and then you as the board, and if you'd like, we can have the opportunity to share with you every application that came in.
That would be
and
good.
some
Yes.
justification for that as well, so that you've got, as much of that information as possible when you are
could do
charged
that,
with the
Todd. That
final
would be good.
decision.
That
So,
would be acceptable to all of us.
that works.
And I think that takes care of Commissioner Baxter's issue on that. That's very, very good. Thank you. Commissioner Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I agree with the process that you have at this point for the applications because we're moving this very quickly. I just wanted to clarify on the ordinance revision. You have on here September 2025. It goes to the EMS Council, then the League of Cities, and the BCC. Will there be an opportunity for us to workshop before it gets to the September of next year? Because I know many of us have a lot of opinions on the future ordinance, and I would appreciate us being able to workshop that before it even goes to the EMS Council.
We can definitely add that in, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Woodward. Commissioner Weiss.
Yeah, just quickly, because I just want to make sure I'm clear. Do we have zones today?
No.
Was there a plan to create zones?
No, and we did look at that as we were reviewing a number of different issues, and particularly on the long-term one, but that's not a plan that we have. So to Commissioner Baxter's point, she's correct. That's something that we've opined as well and agree with her on that.
Okay, thanks.
I think we had zones years ago, possibly. And so this is always a conversation that we can put in the mix, and I'm glad we've added that. All right, we have a first, we have a second. I think we're ready for the vote unless there's any other issues or questions or comments. So I am going to take, and you have the first and the second. All those for, anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously, 7-0. Very good.
Thank you
Thank
very
you very
much.
much for that
Thank you.
excellent presentation. We're going to move on now to item, we have an add-on, 4C1.
No,
4C1,
do we do first?
and
For C2.
this is lengthy, but it's okay. Yeah, I got it right here. This is it.
No, 5C.
We have the staff. Okay. Do we have cards on 4C1 at this time? Commissioner Weiss? We do not. Okay, good. We have a staff report. Would everybody like to hear the staff report? Is there anybody who has already been briefed enough?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Okay, hold on, just one, I just want to make sure that, does anybody wish to hear the staff report? None at this time. That was great, but don't go away, just 1 second. Are there any questions or comments to the staff before we entertain a motion? Seeing none? Okay, Vice Mayor, you're on.
I will make a motion to adopt 4C1.
Very good, and I have a second. I have a second from Commissioner Woodward. All those for, anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously, 7-0.
Okay.
Great job. Okay, moving on to 5A,
No.
the airports.
5.
But you know what? We have reordered it, and I have reordered it, so I better remember exactly what I did. So now we're going to go back. Let me find, it's Vanderbilt, by the way, in case you were wondering, but let me find the number for the record.
Madam Mayor, do you
Yes.
want to do the ones we pulled from consent before we do 5C1,
No, I think
or
I'd
you want
rather
to do
go
them first?
right on to Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt
and
first?
That's how
All
we
right.
did the reorder. If you have the number for me, faster
5C2,
than
Madam.
I can.
5C2, Madam Mayor.
I'm sorry, say it again.
5C2.
5C2.
Yes.
93. Very good. Here it is. 5C2. All right. And that is, let's make sure. Ms. Kaufman, should we do 5C2 or 5C1? What is the recommendation of the attorney at this time?
5C2.
I thought it was 5C, no, it is 5C2.
5C2 found on the top of the page 93. We're all on the same page. Very good. And we have a staff report. Yes, we do, and we will. Good morning, Esme.
Good morning, my
Morning,
apologies. We were dealing with
Quite
some
all right.
logistics.
That's quite all right.
You got it? Can you click to Kirby? Okay, good morning officially again, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. It's Samia Jala, Director for Facilities Development and Operations and Assistant County Administrator. With me today is Purvi Bugaida, Director of FDO's Property and Real Estate Management Division, and Howard Falcon, Chief Assistant County Attorney. This item relates to the development and conveyance agreement with Vanderbilt Education Florida, LLC. Allow us first to provide you some background, and I'm going to try to do this as expeditiously as possible because we have some ground to cover. On July 17, 2024, this board directed staff to meet with Vanderbilt University representatives and to coordinate a presentation with them to be given during the August 20th, 2024 BCC board regular meeting. Staff met with Vanderbilt representatives on July 24, 2024, and coordinated the presentation as directed. That presentation took place on August 20th, 2024, and they brought to this board a presentation titled Vanderbilt in Palm Beach County, as supported by an economic impact study entitled The Potential Economic Impact of Vanderbilt University in West Palm Beach. Following the presentation by Vanderbilt and discussion by the board, staff was directed to negotiate the potential conveyance of the properties, which are the county real estate holdings on an area that is commonly referred to as Government Hill. And that conveyance was to be, or is to be, meant for the planning, development, design, permitting, construction, operation, and maintenance of an educational campus to be developed by Vanderbilt. And the idea was to be able to bring to this board a final agreement to be considered during the August 8, 2024 meeting. In negotiating the agreement with Vanderbilt, the board directed staff to use as a base document the agreement previously prepared for similar purpose with the University of Florida, and we were further directed to provide the board a report on September 17. We sent our first draft to Vanderbilt on August 29, and following board direction, we tried to align with the University of Florida agreement. However, there were 3 key differences that guided our drafting process. Number one, the inherent differences between University of Florida and Vanderbilt. The former is public, the latter is private. The statutory provisions controlling the corresponding agreements, it will be Florida Statutes Section 12538 for University of Florida, public entity, and Florida Statutes 125045 for Vanderbilt. And lastly, the direction provided by the board during the August 20th meeting. On September 17, we provided the update required by the board and requested some additional time to be able to continue to work with Vanderbilt University. We were provided an extension until October 22nd, 2024 for the final agreement, which we're bringing today to your attention. We also, on October 8th, provided an staff report. The board received and filed our report on the status of negotiations with Vanderbilt, and then to allow additional time to notify Transit Village of the item to be considered by the board regarding the revocation of the license agreement, postponed to today, taking consideration or action on that item. A little bit of context as to the license agreement and the motion that recommends its revocation. On October 2, 2022, following board directions, staff executed a license agreement granting Transit Village LLC use of a portion of the properties, the ones that are going to be conveyed eventually to Vanderbilt if the board approves the agreement, for temporary storage, construction activities, and temporary parking in connection with the agreement for the purchase and sale entered between Transit Village and the county for the development of the property known as the Wedge property. To enter into a DCA development agreement with Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt requires that the properties be free of encumbrances, licenses, and obligations. In March 2024, Transit Village sued the county requesting specific performance under the purchase and sale agreement. That litigation remains active. On August 22nd, 2024, Transit Village sent a letter to staff notifying that of its willingness to work with the county and Vanderbilt to incorporate the license agreement into the development and conveyance agreement with Vanderbilt. Given the active litigation between the county and Transit Village, the timeline for development of the Wedge property is uncertain at this point. Also, as a result of the active litigation, our ability to simultaneously engage with both parties is limited by the constraints that result precisely from the legal proceedings. We did had an attempt to try to engage in negotiations with both. Staff communicated through the county attorney's office, given the ongoing litigation. However, a solution agreeable to all parties was not within reach. Therefore, if this board wishes to approve the DCA with Vanderbilt, staff recommends it first revokes the license agreement. Let us now transition to an overview of the material terms of the proposed development and conveyance agreement with Vanderbilt. A summary of said terms or material terms are included as an attachment to the agenda item. Let us first talk about the parcels. We believe you're very familiar with them. We're talking about 8 parcels to be conveyed under the agreement, which are located on the area that we generally refer to as Government Hill. This area is basically 3 blocks east of Tamarind Avenue from Clement Street to Fern Street. Each block is currently owned in large part by the state, county, and city governments, respectively. We own approximately 5 acres of land, which have a combined fee simple interest market value of $46 million. That is per an updated appraisal obtained in September 2024. This is approximately a 9% increase since the properties were last appraised in 2021 when we were negotiating the deal with the University of Florida. The proposed agreement is to be entered between the county and Vanderbilt Education Florida LLC, as I stated before, for the planning, development, design, permitting, construction, operation, and maintenance of the graduate campus. Please note that the affiliates of Vanderbilt Florida are included, and that's the reason why we also included as an attachment the list of current entities that are related to Vanderbilt, Florida, with the caveat noted that obviously Vanderbilt has the ability to change those entities based on their needs. In considering the proposed agreement, there are several definitions of great relevance that we want to make sure we bring to the board's attention. The first one is educational use, and it's shown on this slide. I'm not going to read through it, but we want to make sure we get an opportunity to highlight it. The properties are to be conveyed for the development of a graduate campus, which will be centered on educational uses and other permitted uses, and for the development of a graduate campus. And that's the definition of a graduate campus. Again, I'm not going to read through it, but it's important to highlight that aside from the educational uses, the graduate campus considers as well incidental facilities and non-educational uses, which then brings us to what are the definitions of those two additional terms that are of relevance. Incidental facilities, and again, I'm not going to read through them, but the easy way to see the concept is every facility that is necessary to be able to support the educational use. Non-educational uses are by definition everything else that is left, that is not educational or not an incidental facility. On the declaration of development intent of the agreement, it is provided that the properties will be conveyed for educational uses and other permitted uses, meaning to say incidental facilities and non-educational uses, for an educational purpose with an economic development public purpose. Under the agreement, Vanderbilt will be required to prepare a master plan consistent with the Declaration of Development Intent. At a minimum, that master plan will address 1, academic offerings, 2, community engagement, the capital plan, funding, project schedule, initial operations, economic impact, county employee development incentive, and naming opportunities. This board will get an opportunity to review that plan and see the details and eventually ensure that it is approved per or consistent with the agreement and the development intent. Vanderbilt University will have 12 months to complete the master plan. They get a 1-year extension, so 12 additional months at their right to complete that master plan process. As this board knows, the Community Services Building is currently located on the properties. We are working per board direction on a project that will allow us to replace that building and move it to the county's complex on 45th Street. We expect that Community Services operations will relocate by the summer of 2027. However, if for any reason conveyance to Vanderbilt were to occur prior to the county being able to relocate community services, Vanderbilt will grant the county a nominal rent lease, and any post-closing occupancy by the county will result in a day, 4-day extension of the development timelines set forth in the master plan. Under the proposed agreement, Vanderbilt will be responsible for the costs related to the design, development, permitting, construction, and operation and maintenance of the campus. We talked before as to the allowable uses, and we mentioned that those include educational, incidental facilities, and non-educational uses. The latter, non-educational, will be limited to 10% of the aggregate square footage of all buildings constructed or to be constructed on the properties. And the county, as I mentioned before, will be provided naming rights for a services-oriented building, and Vanderbilt will identify that building on the master plan that is going to come for approval of this board. The agreement provides that the properties can serve as a TDR receiving site, transfer of development rights. It also provides that the properties can serve as a TDR sending site, but only to the public land assemblage in an amount not to exceed 150,000 square feet. And the public land assemblage is the aggregation of the county properties and the properties owned by the city, which the city and Vanderbilt are also working together on a conveyance. Together, those constitute the public land assemblage, and Vanderbilt has stated that that combination of city and county holdings are sufficient to be able to develop the educational campus. Transit operations were a material consideration given the county's presence in the downtown area. Therefore, the agreement provides that Vanderbilt will implement a series of programs as detailed in the DCA towards the goal of reducing single occupant trips. As it relates to housing on the graduate campus, it will be limited to students, faculty, staff, and/or employees of Vanderbilt, Florida, its affiliates, or any other higher educational institutions located in Palm Beach County. Travel and leisure facilities will not be allowed, neither will be outpatient, public-facing medical facilities. Vanderbilt, Florida will be required to obtain approval from the county, meaning this board, in the event that its development activities towards the construction of the graduate campus exceed the maximum development potential, inclusive of TDR receiving potential as detailed in the agreement. Under the agreement, Vanderbilt will have the right to pursue, at its cost, the abandonment of the alley that bisects the properties and of Avernia Street between Sapodilla Avenue and Tamarind Avenue. All other modifications to the street network proposed by Vanderbilt will need to be supported by a professionally signed and sealed comprehensive traffic analysis, confirming no detrimental impact to county operations, and we define county operations as all those that we have in the downtown area: Convention Center, Government Center, State Attorney, PD, the courthouse, and others. Although the county shall have the right, I shall say, as it relates to those modifications, to oppose the proposed modifications if they were to impact county operations. Although the agreement is exempt from the county's Equal Business Opportunity Ordinance, Vanderbilt has agreed to attain at least 18% participation of small women and minority-owned business enterprise in the total construction costs for the graduate campus. Vanderbilt may seek to enter into development partnerships to construct all portions of the graduate campus. I shall say that this concept is similar to the public and private partnership that we had under University of Florida. There it was called P3, Vanderbilt being private is called development partnerships. But at the base level, it's exactly or a very similar concept. Vanderbilt will have 4 years from the effective date of the agreement to obtain the required permits and approvals to commence construction of Phase 1 of the campus. Phase 1 is defined as the first-in-time portion of construction on the campus that shall entail at least 100,000 square feet of construction. And that construction process needs to start by year 5 after the agreement is approved, if so the board wishes to approve. Regarding conveyance of the properties, the same will be done at no cost to Vanderbilt, Florida. The county will release mineral rights interests in the properties and the city's holdings. Vanderbilt will be responsible for the cost of conducting due diligence to satisfy itself as to the condition of the properties. We have a due diligence period that is 180 days. In order to proceed past the due diligence period, Vanderbilt must deliver a notice to proceed to the county. If Vanderbilt decides not to issue that notice of proceed, the agreement will automatically terminate. For reference, that's what happened under the University of Florida deal. The properties will be subject to several restrictions that will constitute a covenant running with the land, a use restriction indicating that the properties shall be used for educational uses in the form of the graduate campus and other permitted uses under the agreement. County approval will be required if Vanderbilt desires to lease the properties to another educational organization not affiliated with Vanderbilt, Florida. There will be a restraint on alienation, basically providing that Vanderbilt will not be able to transfer, sell, assign, convey, or in any way dispose of the property or a portion thereof to the benefit of an entity not related with Vanderbilt, and the same cannot be done without county approval. And lastly, a reverter, which calls for the properties to revert to the county if Vanderbilt were to fail, number 1, to commence construction of Phase 1 within 5 years, or number 2, cease to use any portion of the properties for educational uses, inclusive of incidental facilities and other permitted uses under the agreement. Vanderbilt will have 4 years to meet the conditions preceding to closing on the properties, and said conditions include completion of the master plan, acquisition of the city holdings, completion of the due diligence and delivery of the notice to proceed, securing the funds to initiate construction, and a determination by Vanderbilt that in fact construction of Phase 1 is feasible. The agreement provides for reporting requirements during construction, operations, and related to economic development. As shared at the beginning of this presentation, this agreement is predicated on the county's economic development powers. Therefore, it includes a series of economic metrics to be met by Vanderbilt. By completion of the graduate campus, Vanderbilt will have invested $300 million in capital expenditures and cost to be created 4,500 construction jobs. Within 5 years of the start of operations date, and thereafter, a number that must be sustained as an average over 5 consecutive years, they will have attained 900 students in degree granting programs, and that is out of a total of 1,000 students, 200 full-time employees, and will have an annual operational budget of $70 million. In the first 5 years after start of operations, they expect, and the economic metrics include, expenditures of $1 billion in connection with the campus. By year number 25, those expenditures are expected to be $2.4 billion, and by year 50, they are expected to be $5.3 billion. Under the agreement, Vanderbilt is also committing to several community programs, a fellowship program for a minimum of 25 local county students per year. They're committing to partnering with the school district on advanced teacher training programs. They're also committing to partnering with existing reading skill development programs to utilize resources and research strengths to promote and achieve greater skill development levels. And then partnering with county officials, local employers, and other community partners to develop and implement additional workforce development programs. The DCA will be effective as of the date of execution of the last priority, which, if this board approves, will be today, and will continue until the earlier of full construction of the educational campus per the master plan, or the date of any termination under the conditions of the agreement. Prior to the conveyance, either party will have the right to terminate if the conditions preceding are not met. Post-conveyance, the county will have the right to terminate if the reversionary rights are exercised. The default provisions are fairly typical. Remedies are those detailed on this slide. As the last point, we need to inform the board about, on October 17, 2024, the Property Review Committee met pursuant to the provisions of the county's property and real estate ordinance, what we commonly call the PREM ordinance. And they met to review and make a recommendation on the proposed agreement. The PRC, the Property Review Committee, is an advisory board. Their recommendation was in favor of the agreement. However, they made a recommendation to modify the reverter provision to add a third scenario under which the properties will revert to the county, which is, as per suggestion, if Vanderbilt fails to meet within a 10% deviation range the economic development metrics detailed in Section 11 of the agreement. Due to the time constraints associated with drafting this agreement, the agenda item you have in front of you for consideration today actually reads that we didn't have time to connect with Vanderbilt prior to submitting the agenda to go over the recommendations of the PRC. After we submitted the agenda, we did connect to Vanderbilt and discuss at a high level that recommendation from the PRC. They conveyed to staff that they felt very strongly that was a recommendation that could hinder the ability of the deal of moving forward. This concludes staff presentations. Usually we will take any questions as this board deems is appropriate.
You read faster than my kids do, which is impressive. Thank you very much. I'm going to open up the board to questions at this time from my colleagues, but let the record reflect that on the regularly scheduled regular agenda, 5C has been revised. I want everyone to know that we are traveling under a revised 5C2, and I hope everybody has a copy of that. So that's one we are traveling under now. Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Just a couple questions. Just me. Thank you for the presentation. In regards to the license agreement, I know that you had mentioned that there's a 10% cap for incidental use or non-educational use in your presentation. If we've revoked the licensing agreement and Vanderbilt enters into a licensing agreement with Transit Village, would the 10% cap be violated by them agreeing to enter into that future licensing agreement?
We will need to agree to language with Vanderbilt University to make it very, very clear that that proposed use is a non-educational use and shall be temporary in nature. That will be staff's recommendation, to make sure that it doesn't count against the 10%, but at the same time that it doesn't become a permanent use in the campus.
So if we're making a motion today, can we, I guess I'll ask the county attorney's office, can we include it in our motion that if they enter into a licensing agreement that the county has reviewed, that wouldn't violate the 10% incidental use and non-educational use? Can we do that as a board today?
Certainly, that's something we were discussing with them, and we were prepared to do. How to handle that today, I'm not quite sure about. I mean, we'd really need to include language in the document itself in order to do it. And we were prepared to do that. We were discussing it with them. We just ran out of time, and we couldn't get it all together in time, unfortunately.
Would you?
I also have Commissioner Weiss,
Okay.
who may want to opine on that. Could we leave that question open for now as we further discuss this?
Thank you. I've got a couple more questions.
Oh, of
if you
course
don't
you
mind.
can. Go right ahead.
Isabel, you had mentioned there's a plan for the community services to move to that future location on 45th Street in the summer of 2027. Can you provide us just a brief update on the status of the community services building?
Yes, we certainly, Commissioner, we are fully engaged in design process. We have already initiated the permitting process. This board approved a contract with the construction manager. So that's where our timeline is coming from. We certainly are hoping for a smooth permitting process throughout, which will allow us then to move to the CMR, the construction manager at risk, bidding the trades and starting construction. Our goal is to be in operations, complete construction, spring of 2027, which then allowing for our colleagues from community services to move into the new building brings us to summer 2027, which is what is included in the agreement.
But do we need some approvals from the city of West Palm Beach as we're moving along with?
That is the case. They are the permitting authority.
Well, we have the mayor here, so Mayor, if you can. So
We
we
want to put
definitely.
him on the spot, Commissioner Bernard, but I think, was your question answered
Yes, it
sufficiently
is. So,
without pulling
just
up?
one more question.
Okay,
Just
you go
one more
right ahead.
question.
However, stay tuned over there, first row.
Another question, you had mentioned the maximum development potential. Can you kind of like go over that real quick for me, if you don't mind, please?
Certainly. Going back to the University of Florida agreement, which the board directed us to model this agreement after, that agreement had a provision that stated that the sites could not, meaning the properties, could not be used as a sending or receiving site for transfer of development rights. When we were engaged in negotiations with Vanderbilt, their representatives stated that they wanted flexibility and they wanted the ability to receive and to send TDRs to make sure that they could, to quote them to a point, provide the county the best campus that it could receive. We had direction from the board to try to reach an agreement in all areas possible, so we proposed a compromise. County staff proposed a compromise, and that compromise was to allow Vanderbilt University to receive TDRs on the properties, county properties, and without restrictions. So if you need to bring additional development capacity, do so. But as it relates to sending TDRs, we recommended putting a cap on the TDRs, on the amount they could transfer if they intended in the future to pursue any type of transfer or turning the properties into a standing site. That cap is 150,000 square feet based on the agreement. And then we tied that to the reverter clause. So we actually added language in the reverter clause that basically reads, Vanderbilt University is allowed to transfer up to 150,000 square feet of development rights only to public land assemblage. So only to properties within, which were before owned by either the city or the county. And if Vanderbilt decides to transfer, they are required to keep a log of every TDR that was transferred. If reversionary rights down the road, we hope never, but if reversionary rights were to be activated and triggered, then Vanderbilt will need to compensate the county for the amount of TDRs that were transferred. In a nutshell, that's what the agreement provides.
Okay, just one real quick follow-up,
right
Madam
ahead,
Mayor.
go ahead.
And you had mentioned that this still is not really subject to the equal business opportunity. And however, you mentioned that as part of the agreement, Vanderbilt's agreed to an 18% small and minority business. Is that correct?
That is correct. That clause mirrors what, at their request, what they had agreed to with the city. Please keep in mind that the campus extends or will extend over county and city holdings. So our colleagues from Vanderbilt throughout our exchanges had a request to, where possible, try to align the two.
Okay,
And
so-
in this case,
Okay,
they
good.
asked for that.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Very good. Good questions. Okay. I believe that Commissioner Baxter and then Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to thank staff for putting this all together. And I've recently received, and I don't like being blindsided last minute, so I'll say with that, the add delete. Could you go over this real quick? I guess the Property Review Committee that added or is trying to add a reverter clause. Would you explain that a little bit?
So let me first address the add delete. Due to the limited time that we had to put this item together, the meeting of the PRC was scheduled for October 17. And we had to schedule it on October 17 because it was not until October 16 that we finalized the agreement. So we were moving along the way as fast as we could. Meeting took place on 17, and then we submitted a revised agenda item. That is just for context as to the timeline. The PRC is an advisory board. It's an advisory board that was created by this Board of County Commissioners via ordinance in 2009-2010. They met on last Thursday, on the 17th. They reviewed the agreement, and they made a recommendation, which is what it is, for this board to consider approval subject to the inclusion of a third scenario under the reverter clause. The reverter clause, as it is on the agreement right now, says, simplify, that if Vanderbilt University were to fail to commence construction in 5 years, or at any given point cease to use the properties for educational use and other uses permitted under the agreement, the properties, subject to a process and cure period, will come back to the county. What the PRC said was, we think you need to add a third condition, and that third condition should be if Vanderbilt, Florida fails to meet the economic development metrics that are included under Article 11. Our responsibility as county staff is to disclose the recommendation made by PRC, and that's what we did in the agenda.
And so according to some of the first part you had mentioned, it says that Vanderbilt has agreed within the first two reverter clauses that they've agreed to spend $300 million on this campus.
The metrics provide under the agreement that they, by the end of construction of the campus, will have spent $300 million in capital improvements.
And after the 5 year after completion of the graduate campus, they've agreed to, it would be at $1 billion expended by Vanderbilt?
Indirect expenditures, so that actually measures, I'm going to call it, I am not an economist, but the ripple effect of the investment throughout the community.
And then after 25 years, 2.4 billion?
That's, yes,
And after 50 years, it would be 5.3 billion?
yes.
And on top of all of this money, they're guaranteed to have to spend, because it's part of a reverter clause, we're now wanting to ask them to add a third reverter clause?
That was the recommendation from the PRC, to add a third scenario in the reverter clause.
I think that's a bit of an overreach, but I would love to hear what my other colleagues think.
Thank you, Commissioner Baxter. Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. I just, following up on Commissioner Bernard's question, and I know you're sort of operating on the fly right now, Mr. Falcon, but in regards to this the license language and the use, the temporary use, is that something maybe we could add into the when they come back with their master plan? Would that be an appropriate time on when you could put that language in there?
The master plan, you want me to chime in? The master plan, Commissioner, can be up to 2 years out, right? Because they have 1 year to complete it, but they get another additional year to extend. So if there were to be an interest on county staff working with Vanderbilt and Transit Village, may I suggest, subject to recommendations county attorney may provide, that we follow a process similar to what was followed with the University of Florida when the agreement was first approved, which was this board gave us direction to, after the University of Florida agreement was approved, to work with all parties and try to seek a resolution. I'm saying that knowing that there is litigation, so I need to defer to my colleagues on the county attorney side, and I'm looking at the county attorney.
There is no reason that we cannot work with the parties to achieve a license agreement. I believe we were actually pretty close to it, but the timeline constrained us to get it actually done.
Okay, so.
If I may say something else, which is important as this board considers all matters, because we are in litigation, staff under Administrator Baker, we need to go through county attorney to be able to communicate with Transit Village. I interrupted.
Okay, yeah, I guess I'm just trying to help, clarify and make sure that we have resolution to what Commissioner Bernard was requesting, so that we don't trigger that reverter provision because they're using it for a non-educational use temporarily. And so I just want to make sure that there's a mechanism that you all can put that in place so we don't trigger that.
And
Ms. Kaufman.
I'm going to get rotten tomatoes thrown at me right now.
Don't throw rotten tomatoes.
Okay, but
Good
if
tomatoes.
Vanderbilt were in agreement, I don't know why we couldn't just add a clause to the agreement now. It
I
seems
see a
to
lot of
me-
heads, but I think that if you're talking a legal consideration, we have the two attorneys for the two parties. If you would state something as you are.
Right.
And make sure that the attorneys who represent Transit Village, the attorney who represents Vanderbilt, if that is.
Well, Transit Village would not be involved in this. This would simply
Okay.
be Vanderbilt, and we'd simply say that the license agreement would not count towards the non-educational uses as long as the length does not exceed
90 days.
90 days.
90 days after completion of the envelope construction
90 days
for
after
the
completion
Wedge
of the
property.
envelope construction.
Okay, if I
So
could.
Harvey, I don't know.
Would you like to come up, Ms. Joy? Identify
Seems a
yourself and
simple
your
sentence to
position.
add.
Right.
Good morning. For the record, Harvey Oyer on behalf of Vanderbilt University. Yes, we can easily reach agreement on the language. It is 1 or 2 sentences. We've discussed it repeatedly. I'd just like to point out that it's not just the 10% non-educational use. I think it should be a blanket statement that so long as we are honoring the temporary parking, we're not in breach of any part of the development conveyance agreement.
Hold on just a minute. Is that, are we
Well,
getting an
obviously, we're not going to say they're not in breach of the entire agreement.
For permitting the temporary parking. There may be some other provision that we're not thinking of.
I think that if we left this item for a while, let us go do the 2 sentences and agree on them, and then we should be able to come back. And like I said, rotten tomatoes.
Madam County Attorney, I have some proposed language in our
Awesome.
presentation, and I will bring you a copy of it now, give
Okay.
you an opportunity to review it.
That would be great.
Thank you.
I love the way we're so transparent. Thank you so much, Mr. Oyer. And you can, okay, you two, thanks, Commissioner Weiss. Commissioner Bernard?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Just, I know before we go into the public comments, but I do support Commissioner Baxter's statements regarding the third condition of the reverter, and I do not support moving forward with the third recommendation of the PRC.
Very good. Okay, excellent. Are there any other questions or comments at this time by my colleagues? Okay, very good. We have a number of speaking cards, but if at this time, I'd like to hear from Vanderbilt. If there is, do we have any cards from Vanderbilt that we could, or is there anybody, I know Mr. Oyer is busy right now discussing, Mr. Oyer, would you like to say anything on behalf of Vanderbilt University at this time? Or you could reserve it for later. I'll leave that.
Yes, ma'am, I would be delighted to. I'll make it brief. So again, for the record, Harvey Oyer of Schutz and Bowen on behalf of Vanderbilt University, and I feel privileged to be here today. This is perhaps one of the most consequential things that any of us will be involved in our career if this graduate campus is constructed. So I would like to, first of all, thank staff for a lot of hard work. You're aware of how many hours they have put into this. And as of last Thursday, we were in agreement with the county on all material aspects. You received a notice that we were in complete agreement on all issues. We were asked by the staff to have the Chancellor of the University, Dr. Diermeyer, execute the agreement, which we did and returned it to you. So it is fully executed from our side, and we're very proud to say that. I'd like to do a couple of things. One is we have a very short video that Vanderbilt has asked us to share with you. And secondly, I'd like to go through a very brief presentation that is not duplicative of what staff told you, but I think it will tie this up nicely and provide you reassurance on any open issues.
Very
and
good.
with that, we would stand ready for any questions.
Very good. All right.
Thank you.
We'll see the movie first.
Because they all embrace one superpower. Growth. Growth that transforms a setback into a spark of inspiration. Growth that finds the flame of curiosity in the blank canvas. Growth that allows us to approach the mic. To speak boldly into the mic. And of course, to drop the mic. In the heart of Nashville's vibrant rhythm, we try our own tune. And our symphony carries the song worldwide. So, what excellence will this mix see in the next 150 years? In the next 150 years? In the next 150 years? Only one way to find out.
Thank you. And now I will share with you a brief PowerPoint presentation. And most of these metrics you're aware of, but I'd like the record to reflect that we have the unique opportunity to invite one of the world's great research institutions to our community. They are the 10th ranked public or private university in the nation for research funding. They are the 6th highest university in the United States in commercializing their research and development, ranking ahead of both Stanford and MIT. And these are the programs they propose to bring to our community. Why is this important to everyone in this room and everyone in the county? Well, we do an outstanding job, as you know, recruiting and retaining businesses in Palm Beach County. But if we look forward into the future, ladies and gentlemen, the jobs of today are not the jobs of tomorrow. The rapid evolution that we see in technology, data analytics, quantum computing, artificial intelligence tells us that the jobs that we will have here 20 years from now for our children will look very different. Are we laying the appropriate infrastructure so that we can be competitive? And I don't mean competitive with Tampa and Fort Lauderdale. I mean competitive with Beijing and Taiwan. And in order to do that, we need to act proactively and affirmatively now, not wait until the world has changed. And I'm very proud of everyone in this room because you have all recognized that, acknowledged it, and are proactively engaging with Vanderbilt, instructing your staff. Your staff has been extraordinary. They've worked nights and weekends for 2 months to bring you an agreement today that allows all of us and our children and our grandchildren and generations in posterity to embrace this opportunity. It is truly a generational change for Palm Beach County. As I said at the outset, perhaps the most consequential thing that most of us will ever be involved in. And there is a reason we're doing it, not just because they're a great university, but because this lays the groundwork for our future, for our children's future. So all of those jobs that we are told will exist in 20 or 30 years, that is what Vanderbilt proposes to incorporate in their curriculum here as one of not only our nation's, but the world's top research universities. And if you look at the commonalities of great cities in the world, they all have multiple great universities. They all have an outstanding research university. It is the pipeline to attract people, smart people to your community, businesses to your community, and grow those businesses in your community. So let's briefly talk about the economic impact. This has been shared with you. You all have this. But the numbers are extraordinary. And I share this with you for a reason, because we are asking you to donate at no cost $46 million of taxpayer-owned land. And you, as responsible stewards, have challenged us, what is the return on investment to our taxpayers to contribute $46 million of land? And I want to briefly share what those are, both in one-time expenses and recurring annual benefit to our community. So in the middle, you see the spending from the university, which I'm going to go over in a minute, the faculty, the staff, the students, the visitors. But what's interesting is the ripple effect, which is hard to measure. But if you look at the great research universities in the world and the incubation of businesses and ideas, the commercialization of their research and development around them, it is an enormous ripple or echo effect. And that is what we are hoping to achieve here. So the actual hard construction costs are big numbers. Those have been shared with you. In fact, part of them are guaranteed in the agreement with you. So we are in default if we don't perform those. The ongoing operational expenses at a minimum of $70 million a year to operate the university are big numbers. The total economic impact, as Commissioner Baxter, I think, just went through, are really big numbers, bigger than any other use to which we could put this property. There is no other use that could go on your 5 acres that would ever have this type of economic impact. And I would venture to say there's no other use that you could put on those 5 acres that would have a larger intellectual impact in our community that's not measured in dollars. Total jobs created over the next quarters of a century are staggering. In addition to the economic impacts, at your request, we have agreed to share a number of non-monetary benefits to our community, to our K through 12 children, our literacy programs, our workforce development, so that we are retraining all people for these jobs of the future, not just the master's and PhD level people that will take these jobs of the future, but the people that don't have that education that will need to pivot and learn new job skills. So we endeavor to teach all of them. Creating an urban lab here, similar to the one in Nashville, that is a number of academic disciplines that come together and mix them all up, and they generate incredible ideas, modeled very much after the media lab at MIT. A number of universities have undertaken this. You put a number of academic disciplines together and see how many new ideas they can germinate. There are regional benefits far beyond Palm Beach County. The talent attraction will bring the smartest people in our nation and our world to our community, which again is additive to us, to our intellectual capital. Our workforce development we've discussed. And now let me talk about the return on investment. Several of you challenged us, what is the return on investment to our taxpayers? So I've broken it down for you in 2 different slides. The first slide reflects the return on investment to the taxpayer of the guaranteed money that Vanderbilt has to spend out of their wallet in accordance with the agreement that you're about to vote on. So if we do not do what's on this slide, we are in default of the agreement with you. These are guaranteed dollars. A minimum of $300 million spent on capital improvements. We plan to spend more, but a guarantee of $300 million, which after we build the buildings, you've had a $5.50 return on your $1 of land investment. 5 years after we open, which is actually 10 years from today, Vanderbilt has agreed and is required to spend at least $1 billion out of their own pocket, which would give you an ROI of 21x in 10 years. Be the greatest investment Warren Buffett had ever made in his career. A 21x in 10 years is what is guaranteed to all of us. And you can see after 25 and 50 years. So these are the guarantees that if none of the ripple effect were to ever occur, none of the echo effect occurs, this is a guarantee to the taxpayers of Palm Beach County. Now let's look at if we applied what we mutually agree the expectations are for the long-term economic benefits to that same $46 million contribution. I won't read this to you, but you can go year by year and see what the returns are, and they are in the thousands of percentage points. In fact, in the tens of thousands of percentage points for 5 acres that other than an antiquated community services department that you were going to rebuild at some point in the future anyway, generates no taxes, no intellectual capital, no new jobs. So I think it is absolutely the best decision that you could make, and I commend you for doing this, to convert land that while it has value, it can have so much more value by us working together. I would like to, that concludes the presentation, but since the issue came up, the proposed language, and hopefully I bought Denise enough time to review it, and it doesn't need to be identical to this, but something similar. We would like to be sure that if we were to accommodate Transit Village by granting them temporary parking so that your Palm Tran bus drivers continue to have a place to park and the users of Tri-Rail continue to have a place to park, that we're not held in default of our agreement with you in an effort to try to assist the county and Transit Village in solving this problem. So we need language something similar to this, and I agree with Denise, it's simple enough that we could vote on it today, if that's your prerogative. And the final part that I wanted to discuss with you
Absolutely.
is this PRC recommendation that occurred last Thursday that the staff didn't have time to incorporate because it literally was handed down an hour or two before I think your staff report went out. That would result in an absurd result. Let me share with you what that would be. The remedy of a reverter, if someday in the future we do not meet one of these projected economic goals. So let me take, for example, in year 25, we mutually hope that there will be at least a $7 billion impact. But under this reverter theory that was put forward by the PRC, if we were at $6 billion in year 25, you would be forced to exercise a reverter, tell 1,000 students to go home, fire 200 faculty, tell all the kids from underprivileged neighborhoods that are in the Vanderbilt Fellows Program that they're out of the program, and get the keys back to a university that you've never wanted to own. Just to make it more complicated, you would actually have to pay us because there is a depreciated buyout of the improvements. That is a crazy remedy, ladies and gentlemen. You have a whole lot of remedies available to you in this agreement. Your staff did an excellent job of negotiating it. You have every remedy available at law and equity. So I would put forward to you that that would have a very draconian and absurd result that neither you want nor we want. And by the way, that will never happen because every 2 years we have to give back to you an economic report telling you where we are. And at 10 years, we have to do a complete look back And should we have not lived up to or exceeded those economic goals, we are required to work with you to figure out why we are not doing that and change and do something differently. So there's a constant feedback loop already incorporated into this agreement. So we'll never get to that point, but I would submit to you that that is a really bad idea. The reverter is an extraordinary remedy, and you have it already in the two instances if we fail to build and if we fail to be an institution of higher education. So with that, Madam Mayor and Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to present. We stand ready for your questions, and I am joined by a host of community leaders and the entire Vanderbilt team, should you have questions for them.
Very good. Since this is such a substantial contract, I'd like to ask my colleagues if anybody here has a question to Mr. Oyer at this time, knowing that you can always bring it up later. Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Oyer. Appreciate your presentation, all you've done. One of the items in the contract has to do, and that is, I want to say it's item 11.3.2C, page 29 of our item. And that has to do with the Urban Lab and your willingness to help provide research and consulting to community partners and so forth, which I know you all do an excellent job in Nashville. My question or my ask of you today is that there's no floor in there as to how much you all are willing to do. And I'm sure you're going to be doing a lot of it because we will all benefit from that research you're able to do. But what I'm asking for is if we could come up with a minimum of 1,000 hours a year that you would all agree to provide to our community.
We certainly agree to that. We'll exceed that.
I'm sure you will, but I wanted to make sure I asked for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Weiss. Commissioner Baxter, and then Vice Mayor Marino.
Thank you, Mayor. Not really a question. I want to thank you, Harvey, for putting this together, explaining it to us, going over these numbers. I want to say I think we'd be remiss to not do everything we can. I mean, the opportunities here are endless for our county, for the community. What an amazing project, and thank you for working through this with us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Commissioner Baxter. Vice Mayor Marino, you're recognized.
Thank you. Looking at the statement here, is there a way to somehow add the word temporary to this?
Oh, you're talking, excuse me, Vice Mayor, you're talking about the statement that
Yes,
was brought up
the
before the
slide right
lawyers.
there.
We're going to review that with the lawyers at the end of our discussion right now. Right now, we're going to leave the legalese to the very end. We'll let the attorneys speak transparently about that. So if you could hold on to your question, I'd appreciate it so that we can let the lawyers work it out. Okay, Commissioner.
I have one more. I'm not done.
Oh, you're going to do as many as you want.
Thank
Go right
you.
ahead.
I appreciate that.
And then Commissioner
When
Barnett.
we're talking about your reporting back to the county, is that is that independent audit for those reports?
I don't believe it is. I don't recall. Esme might. I think it's a report back to us. I think it needs to be supported by a third-party study, but I don't think it is, quote, audited.
Thank you.
Commissioner Barnett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I just also want to thank staff, Ismay, and I've heard repeatedly how you've burnt the midnight oil trying to get this deal done, even at the very last minute. I'm grateful to you and all of your staff, and to Harvey, the Chancellor, the Vice Chancellor, everyone at Vanderbilt. And I have to echo what Commissioner Baxter and Commissioner Bernard said about the recommendation of the PRC. I think that's extreme and something I can't support. That third reverter clause is definitely not something I would approve of. I love the project. I will vote to support this project, but not with that recommendation from the PRC. And I think even staff is not in agreement with the recommendation of the PRC, which is my understanding. Harvey, I wanted to ask you, when you came to my office, I know we've talked about it repeatedly, and Commissioner Wise may have addressed this earlier with regards to the partnerships that you've developed with our community, local elected officials, the meetings that you've had with not just the entire county, but more specifically my district. You mentioned the ripple effect in your side show, and I want to make sure those ripples trickle down into Green Acres and Palm Springs, my district. Can you talk a little bit about the meetings that you've already had with some of our local elected leaders and community partners that you mentioned in more detail, please? Thank you.
Yes, sir, and I'm going to defer that to Vice Chancellor Nathan Green, who is the one that had most of those meetings.
Good morning, sir. Could you identify yourself and your
Morning.
position?
My name is Nathan Green. I'm Vice Chancellor of Government Community Relations at Vanderbilt University. And Commissioner, to your point, we, for the last really 6 months, starting April 1, have been kind of going around meeting with community leaders, trying to find, first of all, our place and where we naturally fit in this community. Our role will be different here than it is in Nashville. But that doesn't mean it can't be any less impactful. We want to be impactful, but we want to find our place. So that means we've been pretty much everywhere, but we got a lot more work to do. I must say that probably in the last 2 weeks, we've been a little bit more focused on making sure that this agreement was finalized in its appropriate way. We haven't done as many community meetings in the last week to 10 days. But next week, we're going to hit the ground running. We've got some other opportunities, and I've already talked to and reached out to Laura about some additional stuff in your district. Remember what the Chancellor Diemeyer said when he was here earlier in the year, and that is, you know, our campus may be in downtown West Palm Beach, but we want a countywide impact. So, you know, we've been west, we've been north, we've been south, we've been all over this county, and we intend to live up to that commitment. And a lot of our community partners and a lot of the community engagement that we will do will have that in mind. You know, we want partners that have a presence maybe in different parts of the county, that we can then increase that impact, not just in a downtown area, but all across the county. But we want to find our place. And partners that we use, you know, partners that are integral to us on workforce development in Nashville may not be the same essential partners down here for workforce development. It may be another entity. And a good example is when we were in Belle Glade, and we were talking to a number of community leaders, and the Boys and Girls Clubs kept coming up every single time. So we left the meeting and said, hey, we need to sit down and talk to the Boys and Girls Clubs. Our role in Nashville is a little different with them. They're a great partner there. That can be an even bigger partner. That's what we're in the process of determining. And what we'd love to do in the same spirit of this agreement that the staff worked so hard on is to come back to you guys on a regular basis. We intend to announce these as we finalize these. We want this to be, we want to show some momentum. We're talking to our other higher education institutions about partnerships. And so we're looking forward to in the coming months and in the beginning of the next year to announce some of these and what they mean and who the partners are. And I'm glad to come back and share that information with you. This is a partnership. And we need to be transparent and fair with one another and focused, but also intentional on being impactful. And that's where we are in Nashville. We're not going to change our values when we come down here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Commissioner Commissioner Barnett, you're not done.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor. And I also wanted to congratulate you. Since we heard from you last, Vanderbilt had quite an impressive victory over Alabama.
No football.
I have to
now.
go there. And
We've done since we've begun these discussions, we've done quite well. So you guys are clearly our good luck charm.
And I'm going to steal from Harvey when he came to my office yesterday. Once we do bring Vandy to West Palm Beach and make you part of our family, Vanderbilt will automatically become the second best college football team in the state.
Unfortunately, that's true. Florida and Florida State are not having good years, are they?
It's okay. I knew we'd get into football somehow, I tell you. Commissioner Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, Harvey, or Mr. Oyer, for your presentation. You mentioned something that triggered a question I hadn't thought to ask before now, so I apologize for putting you on the spot, but you mentioned part of our return on investment with the capital expenditures were taxes, and I was curious, does that mean that your properties will go onto the tax rolls?
No, it's a not-for-profit like most universities. So while it won't be on the tax roll, none of those numbers assumed property taxes being paid.
Okay. Thank you.
Isabel?
Mayor, thank you for giving me
Sure.
the opportunity. I would like to share something to Commissioner Barnett's question. The agreement includes something that we negotiated with Vanderbilt that is called Community Stakeholders Committee. And it's basically a commitment for Vanderbilt to convene a community committee to advise them, and is advisory in nature, and it's also voluntary in nature. But it will give an opportunity to each municipality and the county to sit down with them and provide input into the process. So just wanted to share that is part of the agreement. Thank you, Mayor, for giving me the opportunity.
So in other words, 39 municipalities plus the county will have the opportunity to form a committee, to choose folks to be on this committee, to work with Vanderbilt in this public partnership in sharing the wealth of research and education from Vanderbilt for the people of Palm Beach
That is correct,
County.
Madam Mayor, and thank you, Esme, for the
Excellent.
reminder. But we are required in the agreement, Commissioner Barnett, to have all 39 municipalities give them the opportunity to appoint a representative to an ongoing Vanderbilt committee where they will meet on a regular basis. The cities are not obligated to, but they will all have the opportunity to.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you for bringing that up, Isami. Now we are ready to start on our cards. If there's nothing other from Vanderbilt at this time, we can proceed with Commissioner Weiss will read your name, and Vice Mayor will do the countdown. So Commissioner Weiss, you're on.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll start off with the Honorable Mayor Keith James, followed by Nicole Basil, followed by Kelly Smallridge.
Very much. You don't have to work it right now. Go ahead, Mayor. We're not going to put the timer on for you.
Okay, thank
Though I do know mayors tend to talk a lot, so we'll be watching you.
Good morning, Madam Mayor Sachs, Honorable County Commissioners, County Administrator. I'm happy to be before you again to discuss the opportunity we have before us. I'm here today because we continue standing at a junction of possibility, one that could profoundly impact Palm Beach County. Last time I was before you, I spoke about the ripple effect that welcoming Vanderbilt University would create. Mr. Warrior also alluded to that. A legacy that will benefit our community for generations to come. Today, I want to reinforce the critical nature of our choices and why supporting Vanderbilt by donating land is so crucial at this point in time. Let's discuss the value of partnership. Any successful investment begins by cultivating partnerships that benefit both the present and the future. Vanderbilt's arrival in our county is no different. The value Vanderbilt brings cannot be measured solely in financial terms. As the leaders of Palm Beach County, we must avoid framing this as just another transaction. Rather, we must frame it as a transformational opportunity. As the mayor of the great city of West Palm Beach, I supported the city's decision to donate city land because we recognized that this was an investment in our future, an investment that will yield far more than any short-term financial gain. Second point is the return on that investment. You've seen a number of numbers. Indeed, there are a number of guarantees in the agreement itself. I do want to revisit that long-term impact. Vanderbilt's programs in artificial intelligence, data science, and business are not just educational offerings. They are the foundation upon which tomorrow's workforce will be built. The Innovation Hub Vanderbilt proposes will create an ecosystem of collaboration, bringing our local entrepreneurs together with cutting-edge academic research. This is about job creation and economic prosperity for our entire region. We must be cautious about framing this moment as anything less than an investment in our children and our grandchildren and generations to come. This is not just about revenue today. It is about building a lasting legacy of innovation, education, and opportunity. And lastly, the importance of alignment. When West Palm Beach donated our land, we made a statement that we are committed to building a community. We ask you to join us as leaders in pursuit of that vision. Vanderbilt is attracting more than just students. They are bringing with them resources, connections, and a strong commitment to community development. A nominal fee on land use pales in comparison to the immense value Vanderbilt's presence will provide to our community. And I want to emphasize that in West Palm Beach, we ensure that this project carries no risk to the land or taxpayers, as you are doing with the agreement before you. The land will remain under the city's control. Your land will remain under your control if this project does not succeed. The decision here before us is simple. Invest in the future without creating barriers for the institution that will be the engine behind it. And as I close, ladies and gentlemen, picture the future we can create together, where Palm Beach County becomes a hub for innovation and education, where our children and grandchildren have access to world-class opportunities right here at home. Imagine a future where underserved communities are uplifted through initiatives like the STARS Network, guiding students as early as middle school towards a higher education, giving them the chance to achieve their highest potential. Consider the economic growth, the new businesses, and thriving workforce that will result from a partnership with Vanderbilt. This really is our chance to create something truly, truly remarkable. Let us not allow short-term benefits to overshadow the transformative power of this partnership. We owe it to our mutual constituents and residents, both current and future, to fully support Vanderbilt's investment without unneeded financial burden. So today, I urge you to join me in leaving this community better than when we inherited. Together, we can ensure that Palm Beach County remains and becomes an even brighter beacon of opportunity for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Nicole?
Commissioner Weiss?
Yeah, start timing.
I'll be right there.
Good morning. Distinguished members of the Palm Beach County Commission. My name is Dr. Nicole Basil. I have been a resident, business owner, and parent in Palm Beach County for the last 20 years, and I might add, a non-alumni supporter of the Vanderbilt project. Today, I stand before you to advocate for a transformative partnership between Vanderbilt University and Palm Beach County, the establishment of a Vanderbilt University Business School in West Palm Beach. This strategic move will contribute significantly to the economic growth and intellectual vibrancy of our region. I know firsthand that Vanderbilt is a partner who swiftly acts on its opportunities and promises, and this is why I support the DCA with Vanderbilt. A very recent example of their swift moving is the opening of the Roberts Academy and Center for Dyslexia on the Vanderbilt campus within 18 months of the initial discussion and donations for the project. This was an amazing feat, and these children are already in class. Palm Beach County is a thriving metropolis and offers a unique blend of business opportunities, cultural richness, and a high quality of life. Its proximity to corporations, financial institutions, and research centers such as UF Scripps makes it an ideal location for a world-class business school. South Florida has rapidly transformed into a cultural and business center, and our access to world-class education must parallel this growth. A Vanderbilt Business School in West Palm Beach would provide our students with unparalleled access to internships, networking opportunities, and real-world experiences. It would also attract top faculty and researchers, fostering a dynamic and innovative learning environment. Moreover, the school could serve as an engine for economic development, attracting new businesses, creating jobs, and grow the region's reputation as a hub for entrepreneurship and innovation. As a local business owner who has faced challenges finding qualified MBAs and data analysts in Palm Beach County, I can attest to the critical need for a top-tier business school in our region. Oops, I guess I'm done. In conclusion, I urge you to support the creation of the Vanderbilt University Business School in West Palm Beach. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelly Smallridge. And I'll just point out we have another lectern, so folks can use both of them, followed by Joelle Flores and Tracy Rollins.
Good morning, Commissioners and Administrator Baker. I guess she's left. For the record, I'm Kelly Smallridge, President and CEO of the Business Development Board. You all know that I am a firm believer that at the core of America's healthiest economies is a strong educational system, not a strong economic development board. Simply put, education is the currency of economic development. Today's vote to partner with Vanderbilt University for the establishment of a second campus represents a bold step forward, a step that positions our county to be more competitive in innovation, research, and technology. As Mr. Oyer pointed out, by facilitating the location of such a prestigious university, we are laying the foundation for industries of tomorrow, because quite frankly, the ones that we are recruiting and retaining today will change dramatically in the next several years. As many of you know, and with the county's assistance, the Business Development Board is in the process of courting a major employer, around 2,000 jobs, to Palm Beach County, in competition with 3 other states. As recent as this morning, the company expressed a concern about attracting talent in the area of artificial intelligence. In addition to reaching out to Palm Beach State College and Florida Atlantic University, I also reached out to Nathan Green. At 6:30 this morning, Nathan Green connected with this potential relocation project, and the two of them are going to speak, and it made that company very happy that Vanderbilt was so receptive. So already Vanderbilt is sitting on our side of the table, helping Palm Beach County recruit and retain businesses. This is about adding a critical asset to our toolkit to ensuring that our local businesses can innovate and that we can continue to attract and retain new ones. The way you've engaged with this opportunity, listening to the community and balancing concerns, is commendable. Thank you for being such a great economic development partner and always fighting to bring jobs for Palm Beach County residents. Thank you.
You're recognized, Mr. Flores.
Good morning, Mayor Sachs and Commissioners. My name is Joel Flores, and I had the honor of serving as mayor of the city of Green Acres for 8 years. And I'm here to express my strongest support for bringing Vanderbilt University to Palm Beach County. This is not just an opportunity to enhance higher education, it's an investment in the future of our community, especially the Hispanic community, which makes up a significant part of our population. By welcoming Vanderbilt University, we are laying the foundation for the next 100 years. The presence of world-class institutions will create a pathways for families and students who may not have had the access to such opportunities before. Vanderbilt's commitment to diversity and educational excellence ensures that students from underrepresented communities can thrive and contribute to the workforce of tomorrow. This initiative represents a powerful opportunity to create a sustainable change through education, workforce preparation, and community development. It will provide the skills and knowledge needed for the future jobs and ensuring our young people have the opportunity to succeed without having to leave Palm Beach County. Bringing Vanderbilt University here isn't just about economic development. It's about ensuring all parts of our community, including those that have historically been underserved, have the resources to flourish for generations to come. Thank you for your consideration, and I urge you to join me in support of Vanderbilt University to Palm Beach County. Thank you.
Thank you. Tracy, and then it will be followed by Laura Finfrock, and then Michelle Jacobs.
Thank you. Good morning,
Good
Mayor,
morning.
Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. I'm Tracy Rollins. I'm an attorney, but I'm here today in my capacity as the chair-elect of the Palm Beach North Chamber of Commerce. We represent over 800 businesses from West Palm Beach to Tequesta, and we want to express our strong and enthusiastic support for the Vanderbilt project. Vanderbilt's focus on emerging industries, fintech, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, all of that aligns with our economy and in the coming decades. Their $300 million investment in capital costs, as we've heard, their $70 million in annual operating expenses, all translates to a tremendous economic impact, creating thousands of high-quality jobs. To the Chamber, this is more than an educational initiative. It's an investment in Palm Beach County's future and the local businesses and workforce that the Chamber represents. We strongly urge you to support this transformative opportunity, and we thank you for your leadership in making Palm Beach County a hub for innovation and growth.
Thank you so much,
you.
ma'am. Good morning, you're recognized.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Laura Finfrock. I'm supporting the approval of the donation of land for Vanderbilt. I'm currently a parent of a student at Vanderbilt, so I'm just learning about all the fantastic things that Vanderbilt's doing over the years. I'm also an alumni. I met my husband through a mutual friend. My husband's an alumni, his parents. We have about 11 or 12 family members that are affiliated with Vanderbilt. So what brought me here is just to talk about how this transformed my life. I was from a rural area in Kentucky, not Palm Beach County, but went to Vanderbilt basically when it was easier to get into Vanderbilt. And had Pell Grant, financial aid from Vanderbilt, work study, various things are put together. And just the opportunities, the connections, the partnerships, they're real. It's not just words on a slideshow. But basically what brought me to Palm Beach County was my husband expanded the business to Belle Glade. So I got the wonderful opportunity to meet a lot of the Belle Glade community, volunteer opportunities, connect with real people with real problems. And I'm really excited to see Vanderbilt connect and build those bridges, those human connections with these ongoing meetings and ongoing dialogue. I think Vanderbilt will solve problems that exist in the world. These things that happen in the Glades just a few hours from here, they exist in China, they exist in India. Vanderbilt will attract world-class students that are going to do amazing things that I can't even imagine. And they're going to do this here in Palm Beach County, and it's going to change the world. So I'm in support of the donation of land. And everyone here, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Michelle Jacobs, and then be followed by Dennis Grady and Christina Lambert.
Good morning, you recognize us.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, County Administrator Baker, Michelle Jacobs, President and CEO for the Economic Council of Palm Beach County. I am here on behalf of our members who are the top thought and business leaders throughout Palm Beach County, and we overwhelmingly and unanimously support this relationship between Palm Beach County and the DCA with Vanderbilt. Many of you travel with us as we do benchmarking trips across the country, and several of our last trips, we've studied education. We just came back from Dallas last week. Many of you were able to travel with us. And what's striking and very apparent is communities that have vibrant and diverse higher educational communities are a vibrant community. And for us, we already have great institutions, but the addition of Vanderbilt University, not a satellite campus, but an additional main campus, could be game-changing, will be game-changing for Palm Beach County and for our region. So with that, I just want to remind you that we are here, the business community is here to support you. We appreciate the hard work that Palm Beach County staff put in trying to get this moving forward so quickly. It's an exciting time for Palm Beach County and for the city of West Palm Beach as we emerge. We are a leader not only within Florida, but within the country and the world. And as we continue to do partnerships like this, we're going to continue to evolve and grow our community. So with that, I want to say thank you, and I appreciate your support and overwhelmingly supporting Vanderbilt.
Thank you. Mr. Grady.
Good morning, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Dennis Grady, CEO of the Chamber of Commerce of the Palm Beaches, which has strongly endorsed the proposed Vanderbilt University initiative for Palm Beach County. We have been fortunate to have a county commission that is visionary and willing to seize opportunity when it arises. You can position Palm Beach County above not only other communities in Florida, but also those around the globe. The deal with Vanderbilt is an excellent return on investment, and with your support, we will be able to compete with financial cities around the world. I urge you to support this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Commissioners.
Good to see you, Mr. Grady. Thank you, sir.
Christina Lambert, followed by Brian Seymour, followed by Ben, looks like Gerber.
Good morning, you're recognized.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, Madam Administrator and staff. Christina Lambert, City of West Palm Beach City Commissioner. It's an honor to be before you again this morning speaking about the opportunity to bring Vanderbilt University to our community. I spent the better part of last week with many of you on the dais, your county administrator, your deputy administrators in Dallas, as Michelle just mentioned, with the Economic Council and with 70 members of our community, many of which who are with us in these chambers today. And while we were there, we heard from local leaders on many important topics spanning from transportation, infrastructure, arts and culture, government, real estate, and chambers of commerce. But we spent an entire day and parts of another day learning Dallas's best practices in education. It was the countless community partnerships they created to impact education on all levels, the workforce readiness, and the lifetime of achievements for families they've made that left us all fired up and ready to roll up our sleeves. One of the things that struck many of us during these sessions in Dallas was that these programs had been put in place decades before. Educational roadmaps were created, task forces were created, and substantial investments were committed, similar to what has been presented here today. When we returned to Palm Beach County after those inspiring 3 days, one of my colleagues asked me, what was the biggest takeaway? After much thought, I believe it can be summed up with this adage. When one asks, when is the best time to plant a tree? The answer is that the best time to plant that tree is 30 years ago. The second best time is today. A few months ago, West Palm Beach took a big step towards preparing our land so that we could work together, the city and the county, as we have on countless projects for our community. I hope that you all vote here today to plant the seeds of change so that we can help grow our talent for the jobs of tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And following Mr. Gerber is going to be, Mayor Steve Wilson. I'm sorry, I didn't see you were here.
Good
morning, Mr. Seymour.
Madam Mayor, members of the commission. My name is Brian Seymour with the Gunster Law Firm. As you know, we represent Transit Village. I am not going to talk in detail about anything.
Promise?
It is our position the license agreement and litigation are totally unrelated. We understand we're going to work through the lawyers anyway. I had a great conversation with Howard, I don't know whether it was Friday or Saturday, and we are very close to actually new agreements. We are happy for this to get approved tonight. We will work in good faith with the county, and we will also make sure that we're clear in our agreement with the county as well as our agreement with Vanderbilt, which we're almost ready to sign, that it is temporary in nature based on what staff said this morning. So we look forward to this. We're very excited about Vanderbilt, as we've said over time here. So we do hope this gets approved, and we will work in good faith with staff to resolve the license issues.
Very much appreciated. Thank you so much. There's a light on. Commissioner Woodward, did you have a question for Mr. Seymour?
I did. Thank you, Mr. Seymour. I'm sure you know none of us have really been able to have discussions with your client. I'm happy to hear what you just said, that you are in agreement with this moving forward, and that should this vote pass today, we wouldn't expect any problems with the licensing moving forward.
We actually sent over a draft back yesterday. I think we got it Saturday. We turned and sent back yesterday with a few changes, really just to sort of clarify and update to current circumstances. I think we're very close, and we will get it done. If they want to meet with me, I'll work my schedule. We'll make it happen.
Thank you very much. We'd appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Sir, you're recognized. State your name.
Hi, I'm Ben Gerber, speaking on behalf of Transit Village. To reiterate what Brian said, we are very much in support of the Vanderbilt project, and we are ready, willing, and able to finalize the license agreement negotiations. We had reached out recognizing the potential for this conflict and issue way back when, as was shown in Isami's presentation. And as of the last board meeting, we had also separately reached out to express our desire to get this resolved and done. And when we got the documents over the weekend, we all worked in good faith to try to resolve it. So rest assured, we will not be an impediment to this process, and we look forward to getting it done.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Mayor Wilson, followed by Alexandria Ayala, followed by, looks like Mila Risen.
Well, good morning, Madam Mayor.
Good morning, Mayor.
Vice Mayor, and to all the commissioners in their respectable place. We call you Friends of the Glaze. And to a special hello to my commissioner, Representative District 6, Commissioner Baxter. To the county administrator, thank you, Ms. Baker, you and your staff for what you guys do. Thank all of you for what you've done, what you're doing, and the things that you will continue to do to make Palm Beach County the place where everybody want to live, work, and raise their families. Well, in fact, we often brag about how Palm Beach County is one of the fastest growing counties in the state, if not the country. And that's a testament to your hard work and your commitment to the folks of Palm Beach County. I'm standing here on behalf of the Glades community, Belle Glades, South Bend, Pahokee. Bring greetings on behalf of Mayor Joe Kyles, the city of South Bay, Mayor Keith Bell, the city of Pahokee, in support of this Institute of Higher Learning. And now I have to admit something. The Vice Chancellor, Mr. Green, came out a couple of times and we had a good conversation. And I told him that during my thinking process, I was trying to figure out what school I wanted to go to. And believe it or not, we have a saying that the Lord works in mysterious ways. Vanderbilt was my #1 choice at the time.
You have 9 cards.
My #2 was University of Georgia, and #3 was Florida State. And I shared that with Mr. Green, and he said to me, well, we forgive you. I want to thank you for giving me. Now, people will often ask me the question, well, what that have to do with the Glades community of Vanderbilt? 42 miles west. Well, again, we have to remind people that the Glades community is a part of Palm Beach County. Sometimes people forget that. We are a part of Palm Beach County. And when Mr. Green came out, that said something to our spirits. Here's a vice chancellor with the Institute of Higher Learning coming out to the Glades community. I want to tell you guys, that touched my heart and my colleagues. And so there are a couple of reasons I want you to know why we support Vanderbilt. Let it be no surprise to any of you that this university will bring millions of dollars to the county. That has a trickle effect to the Western community, that we always coming to you guys, asking you guys for help. And in that conversation, Mr. Green said to us, I want to target on the kids. That's how the Boys and Girls Club came up. That meant a lot to us. A lot of times, time on me?
Go, you keep,
Thank you, madam. A lot of times people come, developers come, and they forget about the impact of the community. It's always about them. But what about the impact of the community? And I want to say this Institute of Higher Learning, that was the first thing they said. And I close by saying this. We must realize that our competition today is not South Florida. For years, that's been the conversation. But it come across the nation and the globe. We're competing with other counties across the world, tech centers across the nation. And last but not least, if approved, our communities as a whole will look back at this decision, and all of you and in this room will have made history for Vanderbilt University to come into Palm Beach County. Thank you all so much.
Mayor, let me just say, just hold on, Mayor, just 1 second. I just want to emphasize the fact that the Vice Chancellor went out to your area.
Yes.
And spoke to you, sir, about helping the kids out there with coding, with all the issues that are so important in AI for the future of the people that you represent as mayor. And I do appreciate you coming here this morning and telling us that, because that is so important to all of us. Because there's a lot of resources that they may not have, especially with regard to AI and coding, that's so important to the economy of the area that you represent. So I want to thank you, Mayor, for coming forward today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all so much.
Alexandra Ayala, Mila Reisen, followed by Scott, oh, that's in the wrong stack, followed by Patrick Franklin.
Good morning, and thank you, Mayor Sachs, Commissioners, Administrator Baker. It's great to be here with you this morning and have the opportunity to speak about what this would mean for education and opportunities in Palm Beach County. As a member of the school board, I was incredibly excited to hear that we were continuing forward in discussions for an opportunity like this to come our way. While we are blessed to have outstanding academic institutions in Palm Beach County, this addition is certainly welcome. And I want to thank Vice Chancellor Green for, as has been stated, reaching out to me, setting up a meeting, and discussing the needs of our district and our future. We have many programs in the school district of Palm Beach County that align with careers and the future of technology in terms of workforce development and the careers of the future. But this opportunity is particularly important because what happens is we have a lot of students go to a university elsewhere and not return. This provides them an opportunity for higher learning where they can stay in Palm Beach County, work in Palm Beach County, and feel as part of a community, which is really important to me and I think for all of us for the success of our county. And I think that from learning the history I've learned of working with our government, Palm Beach County has always been at its best when private, public, and the community are together involved in something. And that's what this is. This has been a culmination of many hours of work, years of thoughts of coming together to make this happen. So I really wanted to emphasize that the opportunities we see for partnership at the public education K-12 level with the university are vast. And we're talking about our staff as well as our students. This will provide opportunities that we would otherwise not have. As has been stated, when we're competing with other major cities for talent, this is something that we sometimes are lacking. And we have an opportunity to remedy that right now, to have outstanding research institutions as part of our portfolio of what we offer. So I thank you for your vision and for the time that has gone in by county staff and everybody here into developing a plan for this proposal. And I encourage you to support this today, and thank you again.
Thank you. Mila, are you here? Oh, there you are. And Patrick Franklin, followed by Izzy Erkan. Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Mila Risen, and I am an alumni of Vanderbilt and very excited to be here today. Just looking back on my Vanderbilt days, which was long, long ago at this point, it seems like, but it was a wonderful time, and really what it instilled in me, in addition to the financial side of or the academic side and focusing on so much of what was going on with the academics, it was also just instilling in me the importance of the community. And at that time, I learned a lot about community awareness, community action, but also Vanderbilt taught me about community impact, which is what can we do with the resources to just not get out in the community, but the impact that we could have. And that translated to me going to law school. I went to University of Pennsylvania Law School and then moved out back to South Florida. I'm a native of South Florida. And actually, I'm on the board of Dare to Care, which is a not-for-profit in South Florida focusing on financial insecurity in the financially challenged areas. And it has been a real pleasure that Vanderbilt, a lot of the alumni of Vanderbilt, as well as Vanderbilt itself, has been very involved with Dare to Care. And we actually have set up a book drive, a diaper drive, in a financially challenged area in Broward County, where they're very involved in helping the community down there. So I think that speaks volumes. It didn't surprise me at all that the Vice Chancellor had gone to all areas of Palm Beach County. That's very typical of what's happened with Vanderbilt in the Nashville community, that you hear about the university and everything the university is doing, but all around the university, they're extremely involved in the community outside, because I've been addressing a lot of the health equity issues with people with the Vanderbilt community. In addition to all of the community stuff, there is also the importance of their ability to focus on trending. And we've heard that today with everything, but I think this is the key takeaway is Vanderbilt has always been excellent in focusing on trends, current trends and future trends. I was a human development major years ago, and everyone thought, what was that? And today it's one of their biggest majors. AI and data science, you can't go into a boardroom in the country without hearing about that. And it just goes to show where they're at and where their thinking is. And this is the exact type of organization that you would want in the middle of Palm Beach County, is speaking to people on these exact issues and having an organization around that. And last, I think we've heard so many reasons why they would come here between the community benefit and the economic benefit is I think that another critical reason is they're an organization that is easy to work with and cares about the community, which is they're very, when they go to a community, they're committed to a community. And by their commitment, it's just not the financial resources, but you have people coming, I'm gonna.
That's okay, you can finish up.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
They have people that come and spend their time, their energy, and their concern. They're out there literally meeting with people, wanting to hear what they have to say. And it's just critical, and also collaborating with a lot of other organizations, which is just so important. And it's just not the top organizations, it's the not-for-profits, it's the key people in the organization that you really want to have in your community.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sir, you're recognized.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, County Administrator Baker. My name is Patrick Franklin, President and CEO of the Urban League of Palm Beach County, and I rise in support of this Vanderbilt initiative to bring this campus to Palm Beach County. The Urban League is deeply committed into the education of our children. We have invested heavily into STEM and STEAM programs in middle school, and I really look forward to Vanderbilt coming here to offer our kids the opportunity to see the future and to understand what the future will look like here in a local environment where they don't have to go across country to some other place to understand and learn AI and other technical capabilities in education. Also, questions were raised about the community development. One of the things that I've spoken with Nathan and others from Vanderbilt over this last couple of months is community development within Palm Beach County. The Urban League of Nashville is deeply involved with Vanderbilt in Nashville and have been for many years. And I have spoken with my counterpart in Nashville as recently as last week to talk about the details of the programs that they work with Vanderbilt. And he was extremely excited to see that they were coming here to West Palm Beach. I expect and I intend to work with Vanderbilt to bring those same type of workforce programs that they're doing with the Urban League of Nashville here to Palm Beach County as we open up different avenues to expand the workforce here in Palm Beach County. I think it's a great endeavor for us to look forward to. And on a personal note, I just want to express my connection to Vanderbilt. My oldest daughter was the first African-American child from Atlantic High School to go to Vanderbilt and graduate from Vanderbilt. So I sent my dollars there, and I hope that you will also send our dollars to help bring Vanderbilt here. Thank you.
Bet you did. Congratulations, sir, on your daughter. Sir, you're recognized.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, and to the rest of the board. My name is Izzy Urkon, and I'm a 2015 graduate of the College of Arts and Sciences at Vandy. I'm a native South Floridian and a current judicial law clerk to a federal judge in town. I'm speaking on my individual capacity, and I'm here to voice my support in favor of bringing my alma mater to this community. So far, we've heard plenty of figures about the potential economic impact of bringing Vandy to West Palm, and I'd like to focus more on the personal impact that Vanderbilt can bring to the community based on my personal experiences. A little bit about myself. I was born in Boca Raton to Turkish and Peruvian immigrants. I'm a first-generation college graduate, and I left South Florida to go to Nashville from 2015 to 2019. I was your classic liberal arts major, majored in 3 completely different things, went to law school, and came back right after to work for a law firm in town and now for a judge. And my career opportunities have come in large part because of the brand recognition of having graduated from Vanderbilt. Going to Vandy got my first internships in college, got me into grad school, and played a key role in landing my first job. I'll even note I interviewed with some of the lawyers that have appeared before you this morning. It's no secret the amount of wealth that has made its way into Palm Beach County, and there are far more important people to talk about that than I am. But it's really the investment in young, talented professionals that cannot be overlooked. By bringing a caliber business school to West Palm, the school will attract thousands of young professionals, a good portion of whom we hope will decide to call here home right after graduating. Case in point, a few weeks ago, I went back to campus for my 5-year college reunion, and it's pretty cool to see where kids have kind of ended up. I'd say about half of my friend group were first-generation college, on my floor, first-generation college students. And now we have 2 doctors, 2 lawyers, an accountant, a brain imaging researcher, a neuroscience PhD, 2 medical assistants, and a software engineer. And the best part is that they would still tell you they're broke kids in their 20s trying to find affordable housing. But they'd offer to help your kids out with their own college applications, and they're the type of students that Vanderbilt attracts. Very driven, but down to earth and approachable human beings. And that's the type of Nashville hospitality that we hope will make our way into our community. And in conclusion, there's a reason why I've stayed an active alum since I've left Nashville. I owe my career, my opportunities, and lifelong friends to the school. I have no doubt that the students who will attend our business school will have the same opportunities that I've had, and even better, they'll be well positioned to succeed in the local community afterwards, just like I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, we're going to have, looks like Steve Quartles, Alex Larson, Alexandria Larson, and Jacob Wilnitz.
Sir, gentlemen, ladies, if you could come to the podium when you're called, so we can move along. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. My name's Steve Quarles. I'm here joined by my wife, Abby, today as a Vanderbilt alumnus, joined by other alumnus. I'm glad to see them. I think the only defining quality that I may bring to the group here is that I've been out of school for a long, long time. Abby and I moved here 3 years ago from Nashville, graduated from the Owen Graduate School of Management at Vanderbilt in 1989, the morning of June 10th. I remember it very well. And I just present myself as sort of a real world sample size of one who for 35 years has utilized that experience, utilized that degree to the betterment of my family and myself. And I think that it's representative of what the university provides. It's as simple as that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right.
Good morning,
Good
Ms.
morning,
Larson. You're
Commissioners.
recognized.
I'm sorry, I'm always the voice of evil up here. I don't want to spend the taxpayers' money. We always have to do the initial stuff. And I don't know if the taxpayers really want to give $46 million. Because the one thing I hear on the street, Commissioners, and I can swear to this under oath by everywhere I walk, we're broke. That's what I hear from your taxpayers. We're broke. We can't afford to live. We got big storms. I mean, the 2 Tuesdays ago, before Milton, everybody acted like nothing was going to happen. Big surprise. A lot of stuff blew away. We don't need any more big surprises, Commissioners, because your taxpayers are the ones. We're the OPM, other people's money. We're the donations. We're the Kickstarters. And a lot of times, the one thing I hear out on the street is, well, I don't really want to, I'd like to be asked if I want to give my $46, you know what I mean, for the $46 million or the $460 that we're giving because we're building buildings. For some reason, we have money, we've got to spend it. We don't save anything. The one thing nobody has in this county is a savings account unless you live on the island over there. People in the city, we don't have a savings account. So please take that into consideration because we're always donating to everything. And I don't know if your taxpayers really want to donate their money. They're broke. I'm tired of hearing that we're broke, and I've been hearing that for 30 years. And we've done a lot of investing. I don't know if you remember or if you were here, but 25,000 jobs walked out of this county in '99 and 2000. Motorola, United Technologies. I mean, a lot of jobs. And they were jobs that people could do. You didn't have to have a doctorate. You could be a Joe and do the job. So please take that into consideration because trades are also a good thing that we need here in Palm Beach County. Thank you for your
so
time.
much, Ms. Larson. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you so much. My name is Jacob Wilentz, and I graduated from Vanderbilt in 2021. So I actually wanted to start off just with a story. So I actually, throughout COVID, I graduated my last year and a half from the university through COVID. I actually had 5 coffee chats a week with different people on campus. So people in undergraduate students, graduate students, professors, the chancellor at the time. And I want to share this story because I just really saw the school in a completely different light, one through empathy. Through a few thousand conversations, I was actually able to just listen and really talk about really difficult topics with my classmates and with my professors. And I was just really impressed with how much knowledge I got from those around me. I share this because I think that the human capital aspect of bringing Vanderbilt to South Florida would be absolutely wonderful, especially bringing these really young, talented, bright students who want to make a difference and make an impact. I currently work in the cruise industry, actually, doing government affairs and impact, and it's been really wonderful to translate the stuff I've learned to Vanderbilt to the South Florida community. I know that we've heard from a lot of people here, but I just really want to emphasize that, Vanderbilt is a truly special place, and I think that the interdisciplinary learning, the intellectual curiosity, as well as just the good nature of the people there wanting to collaborate and get back to where they're from is amazing. So just want to thank you all for being here, and I'm really, really pleased to see Palm Beach County really invest in Vanderbilt. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir.
And last card we have is Cody Crowell.
Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor Sachs, distinguished commissioners. Good morning. My name is Cody Kroll. I'm a Palm Beach County resident. I'm a father of two. I'm a Vanderbilt graduate. I'm a partner at Frisbee Group, and we invest in communities where we can make both a social and economic impact. I wanted to just say thank you to all the commissioners, the staff, the city, all of you that came here today, because this is not a normal thing around the country. We normally are not collaborating. We're normally not having these positive conversations. But what we're doing today is setting the groundwork for the future of Palm Beach County. In the last 5 years, we've been undergoing this incredible wealth in migration, and we go through all the positives, but we also have a lot of headwinds. We have infrastructure, we talk about traffic, we have education, we have healthcare, and today we're tackling the future. So I thank you all. I will leave you with one quote, that vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision is passing time, but vision with action can change the world, and you're changing the world today. So thank you so much.
Thank you for staying here in Palm Beach County, too. Thank you, sir. All right, we have no more cards, and thank you all for staying and giving us your comments. Does Vanderbilt wish to say anything at this time? If not, I'm going to refer to my colleagues. Commissioner Weiss?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things that were brought up. I want to first address comment was made regarding, this is a donation. We're giving land away. And my view on that is it ends up that we are transferring land to Vanderbilt University, but it's not a donation. It's an investment. It's an investment in our community, because this is going to exist far longer than we are going to be on this earth. And the impact that it has or will have, I believe, and as the mayor of West Palm Beach said, it's going to be transformational. If you look, and I've said this before, you look at any great community, any great city, anywhere in the world, and that is the hallmark of it, is their education, including higher education. And I see the future here is very bright. I believe that what Vanderbilt is offering is something, quite frankly, that in value is, I don't think we can calculate. And so I am looking forward to having, and it's interesting, we've heard from the other higher education institutions in our community. They're not, you would think maybe competition, they might not want to support something like this, but that's not been the case. They are supportive. So that shows that both Vanderbilt and Mr. Green have gone out and talked to the community, and I believe we're going to have a real partnership there. And I think, as commissioners, we're talking about public assets. I think we all are very protective of those assets because we know that they're limited. They're not an endless supply. But I believe that the work that the staff has done and Vanderbilt has put in place for protections of those interests. And thank you, Isami. Thank you to your staff. I know you all worked incredibly long and hard hours on this. I also want to really thank my colleague, Commissioner Bernard, because you, I believe, were really the catalyst for helping bring this to us. In addition to members of the community, it was your leadership. So I really do appreciate that. I would like to, as the district commissioner who represents this area, and I hope I don't want to overstep my bounds, Commissioner Bernard, but I would like to make the motion if you would give me that honor.
Excuse me, Commissioner Weiss, and I respect the fact that this is your district, but I would like to have a few other comments first, and then we're going to make the motion.
I'm looking at the attorney. I mean, okay, if you.
Is that okay?
However you want to handle it, Mayor.
Thank you, I
We'll let it
appreciate
roll.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
And I appreciate your comments. You are the district commissioner, and this is certainly something that impacts your district
Well, it's going to
directly.
impact the entire region.
That's correct.
Much
Thank you,
bigger
sir.
than just District 2, the city of West Palm Beach, or Palm Beach County, quite frankly.
Commissioner Woodward, you're
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few comments. I feel that I would be remiss in not thanking our staff for all the work that went into this. When I first had my meetings with Vanderbilt several months ago, very exciting, this prospect to come to our county, the opportunity, the meetings, really, really good things, a lot of excitement, but then also the realities set in on how do we make this happen and how do we answer to the citizens of this county that we are being responsible stewards of their land and that we have the contract that should be put forward on a process like this. And I don't think anyone out there really understands how much work went into this, not just by our staff, but also by Vanderbilt University, their staff. A lot of hours. I was here myself until 7 p.m., and I was not the last person here last night. And I know that the weekend was eaten up with this. I want to thank all of you. This wasn't as smooth as it appears today with all of the nice comments that we have, but I feel I'm satisfied with what you've come up with the agreements that have been made, with the discussions, even with the licensing agreement, that this will not be a problem for either party moving forward. I'm very happy to hear that today. And this contract is important to us, but it was more important to me that we do get it right. And I know that we had a very tight time constraints that we put you under, and I'm happy that we're able to do this while we still have Commissioner Bernard with us. But I just did want to thank all of you. I know that none of us can quite appreciate the work that you put into this, and that we will be able to speak to our citizens years from now, looking forward, and see what's built, and that all of this work, and hopefully you all get a good night's sleep tonight after this is done with. But thank you for the work that you did and for all of the conversations. And I have a lot of cell phone numbers that I didn't have, and everyone's taken my calls to answer all of the questions. And it's important for us to be able to vote on this, that we had these conversations. So I wanted to just thank you, and I will defer to Commissioner Weiss to hopefully make this motion.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Woodward. Commissioner Bernard and Commissioner Baxter.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Wow, just want everyone know this is really my last meeting as county commissioner. So I'm really excited that we are here today to make this decision. 3 years ago, we had attempted to bring University of Florida here to Palm Beach County. And, I received my JD and LLM in tax law from UF, and I was like really happy and excited for the opportunity to bring UF here to Palm Beach County. But the deal didn't work out. And at that time, Mayor Kerner was our mayor of the county, and while mayor, because this deal was so important, even though it wasn't Commissioner Weiss's district, Mayor Kerner had passed the gavel to give the mayor the opportunity to make the motion. I came here wanting to make the motion, and so in my opinion, I just think that with the leadership of Mayor Sachs, because this is going to take all of us to be able to craft a motion. And so, I would love for, the Mayor Sachs to get the opportunity to make the motion and hopefully to be seconded by Commissioner Weiss, who's the commissioner in the district. But this is a historic opportunity for all of us who are on this board, Commissioner Barnett, Baxter, myself, Commissioner Marino, Mayor Sachs, Commissioner Weiss, and Commissioner Woodward. We are here because staff, under the leadership of Ms. Baker, we challenged staff in July to work with Vanderbilt and to meet with them. And Ms. Baker, Isami, Purvey, they've worked night and day to try to work on this deal. And this is really hard work from county administration to work on a deal and meeting with Vanderbilt. And also adding the county attorney's office, Ms. Denise Kaufman, Howard Falcon, and their whole team working on this deal. And that's why we're here today, because we have a deal with Vanderbilt. We've looked at the, conveying $46 million property, 5.03 acres is a big deal for a county to do. But as we traveled to Dallas, we learned that it is so important for us as a community, as the business community, the public community, and private to just come together to have a vision for Palm Beach County, and that's what we're doing today. I want to thank Ben Gerber and Brian Seymour from Transit Village for coming here and trying to work out this licensing agreement. And I know it's not easy, and we're in litigation, but just want to thank the folks from Transit Village for working with us to try to bring this historic opportunity here. You've had the chance to look at the ROIs in terms of what it will do for Palm Beach County in terms of our returns of investments. But we can look at the ROIs, we can look at the dollars, but it's really how do we continue to improve our community in Palm Beach County? And so for me to be here to be able to vote on this is a historic opportunity. And I hope that we as a full body will vote on this that will change Palm Beach County forever. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Bernard, that's why we're going to call you Senator. That was a beautiful statement that you made. And this is a project that you have been working on for a long time. And one of the most beautiful things about sitting in these seats, or any seat of service to the people, is to see a mission that you started come true. We thank you, and we applaud you, and I don't really know if I'm going to let you go. We'll see. Thank you so much, Commissioner Bernard. Commissioner Baxter, and then Commissioner Barnett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I definitely don't want you to go anywhere. You will be missed, severely missed, and there's no way I could as eloquently put that as you did. So in brevity, I'm going to say ditto to what you said. And I would like to see this county move forward. I mean, this is a vision, truly a vision that everyone can work towards. I'm not sure if the mayor is going to pass the gavel and make this motion, or if Commissioner Weiss is going to. I would just like to ask that we make sure during this motion we take out that third reverter clause. It's not in there anymore? Okay, good stuff.
Right.
Good. And then the second thing I would like to is make sure we get the language today solidified with the attorneys to make sure that we have no problems with the Transit Village part of this. So thank you.
Commissioner Barnett.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I wholeheartedly agree with Commissioner Baxter. Very excited to see that we've reached a deal today. Would like to get that language solidified today. We've had enough delays. I think we were supposed to have an update in September, then a drop-dead date of October 8th that we blew through. The parties needed additional time, and here we are on October 22nd. I came to the Government Center dreading a very long, intense meeting, but I was very thrilled to see that the fruit of our county staff's labors and Vanderbilt's labors have yielded an agreement. But even though I'm not a contract lawyer, I do remember from contract law that both parties have to have a meeting of the minds on the terms of the contract agreement. Do we actually have that? I want to make sure that we do, so we can have this settled today. I believe, Mayor, you invited Vanderbilt to come and speak, and I'd love to hear what they have to say before we take a vote on this to make sure that we actually do have an agreement here.
Would you like to address that issue, Mr. Oyer?
Certainly. And incidentally, we had a number of people in the community speak in favor of this today, one in opposition, and I just wanted to note that the one in opposition lamented the fact that Motorola left our community, and I can cite that so did IBM, so did Siemens, and so did W.R. Grace. And do you know why they left?
I do.
Because we didn't have the talent pipeline that you are creating today. So thank you. With that, we need to agree on what I think is very simple language to make sure that Vanderbilt is not in default of the agreement in the event that we allow Transit Village to temporarily park the public on our property after you convey it to us, and would like to agree on that language.
Let me do this. We have all the lawyers here, and as occurs many times, agreements go forward, good things happen, but we cannot forget the lawyers. So I'm going to pass the gavel at this time to our very good Vice Mayor, and I'm going to, and Mr. Seymour, I want you to listen up. I love saying that to you. Why is it? Wow. Because I'm going to make the motion at this time, and I want you to listen to it and see if we all, especially the people on this dais, can agree to it. And here it is. I move that we approve the revised motion as stated on our agenda. It's 5C2, to approve this motion subject to the agreement of the parties to use reasonable efforts to create and agree on a license agreement required for Transit Village to have a temporary license agreement for parking. Is that agreeable to the parties at this time? And if so, that will satisfy the issues presented by two county commissioners, and we could probably go forward on a second and a vote at this time. Is that agreeable to the two attorneys representing the two entities at
So
this time?
I'd like some clarification.
Sure.
The agreement is for Vanderbilt to enter into an agreement with Transit Village, or is it for the county to enter into an agreement with Transit
Both.
Village?
Let me have the attorney. And I love the words in here, reasonable efforts, because this is something that all lawyers need to do. So at this time, I'm going to pass would you like to say something, Ms. Kaufman?
I do have one other question, though,
Sure,
and it
of
may
course.
be to Denise. So in the event that for whatever reason these three parties cannot agree on this, is your approval of the DCA with Vanderbilt contingent on it?
Well, I think that what we're looking at is reasonable efforts. And you all have been talking about this for how many hours, gentlemen? Many, many hours, as well as with county lawyers. So I really think, and I want you to, if you need a few minutes to discuss it, we can take a break. But let me repeat this. Subject to the agreement of the parties to use reasonable efforts to create and agree on the license agreements required for Transit Village to have a temporary license agreement for parking.
So respectfully, Madam
Sure,
Mayor.
go ahead, Mr.
The first words in that are subject to, which means the approval of the agreement between the county and Vanderbilt is subject to these parties reaching agreement. And thus far, these parties have not reached agreement, which would invalidate your vote on the Vanderbilt agreement.
Well, let me
So-
just say this, it says to use reasonable efforts. So, Ms. Kaufman, if they use reasonable efforts to come to an agreement on, of all things, parking, can we still go through with the agreement of the county commission on this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
this is after we do the agreement today, we're going to get together and use reasonable efforts. I understand the legal issue that I did not understand last night, and we have been working on this nonstop. And we have no problem correcting that legal issue. There will be no breach of the agreement because Transit Village is on the property and you're doing what you need to do to move them if the time of the license agreement has expired. That we understand that it will be a non-educational use that will not count against your 10%, that it's going to be 90 days after the completion of the envelope that they have to terminate and leave. If they don't leave and you're using reasonable efforts to get them to leave, then you're not in breach and we're not going to have a problem with that. We're very close to the language, and all we need is your commitment that you're going to work on those license agreements so we can finish this. It requires 2 license agreements. We have a good draft from Transit Village. We just need to finish up with you.
So let me clarify for the record, because we've obviously worked in good faith. We stayed up
have.
all night, Friday night, Saturday night,
Vanderbilt
Sunday night,
has
and Monday
been-
night also.
Vanderbilt is a good partner.
So, yes, we're agreeable to that portion. What I'm concerned about is this motion being subject to us reaching agreement. Should we not reach agreement, that would invalidate
No.
the DCA. And I
No.
want to be clear
That's
that
not
the
true.
DCA, if your prerogative to approve it today, I'm hopeful that you do, that is valid binding agreement between the county
It
and
is.
Vanderbilt, whether we can reach the side agreement or not.
You're only, what it's subject to is reasonable efforts. So if you use reasonable efforts, and frankly, it will be Brian and me who determines whether you do reasonable efforts, and I don't think that's
Don't
going to
say
be a
anything
problem.
Is Brian reasonable?
No,
Don't say,
This is the
Brian
greatest
just-
day of my career.
Seymour.
no, Transit Village is not reasonable.
Hold on just 1 second, Mr. Seymour. I want to make sure that Mr. Oyer is understanding that the reason, that subject to, and Ms. Kaufman said it beautifully, because she's been working on this for hours, along with this and me, reasonable efforts to create these licenses.
You have our commitment to continue working on this. I just don't want the agreement, should you approve it, to be invalidated if we are not able to reach agreement on this.
And that is not our intent, and that is not the motion that we're proposing.
So the DCA will stand on its own.
That's correct.
Whether we can reach the side agreement for temporary parking or not.
That's correct.
It's perfect.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, did you get the word, did you get everything?
That there is one matter of order that we really do need to do the motion for revocation first.
Okay. All right, so
So if we could table the first motion and go back to the motion for revocation first.
let's do that. Let's do that at
Your
this
license
time.
agreement.
Right here, right here. Yep, I got it. Okay. Okay, so listen up, parties.
Oh, you're going to agree to terminate?
Yes, ma'am, I'm listening.
Oh, wait, Commissioner Weiss?
1 second, as we're going through this motion, I just want to make sure, I did ask, and Vanderbilt did confirm their agreement to provide minimum number of hours of 1,000, and I just want to make sure that's part of the motion as well.
Yes, it's
Agreed.
part of the agreement.
Oh, part of the agreement.
Madam Clerk
Thank you.
has it.
Thank you.
They said minimum. Okay. Now, I make a motion to approve the immediate revocation of the license agreement for the use of county-owned property. And let me state for the record, that's license agreement R2 2023-0359 and R 2023-0360, granted to Transit Village LLC for the use of a portion of the properties. And I'm taking that, Mr. Seymour, right from the agenda, which is listed as C2A.
We understand, Madam Mayor. Denise and I were just talking about this. The county attorney's position is you have to because of representations in the agreement. We don't believe you have the right to do so, so we'd rather you not. But we had sent a revocation agreement with a new license agreement. We worked those out. It won't matter. But if we don't, then we're going to have the issue of the fact that we didn't agree. We don't think any of that's going to be an issue. We just want to put on the record to be clear.
That's fine, that's fine. So if I could have a second by Commissioner Weiss. All those for, anybody opposed, see that it passes unanimously, 7-0. Now we're going to move forward with the second motion, and I'm going to restate it. I move to approve this motion listed as 5C2 on the revised agenda, subject to the agreement of the parties to use reasonable efforts to create, what? Authorize, okay, all right. Delete what I just said. All right, and if it's okay with the attorney, I'm going to, at this time, to move to authorize the mayor to execute a letter notifying Transit Village of the revocation of the license agreement. I have a second from Commissioner Weiss. All those for, anybody opposed, see that it passes unanimously, 7-0. Now I'm going to move to approve this motion. By the way, I'm stating the same thing again. All right, I move to approve the motion as stated in the revised agenda 5C2, subject to the agreement of the parties to use reasonable efforts to create and agree on the license agreements required for Transit Village to have a temporary license agreement for parking. Okay, and I have Commissioner, did you want to second it? Okay, Commissioner Weiss seconds it, along with a lot of other people here. All those for, anybody opposed, see that it passes unanimously, 7-0.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Mayor, commission, staff. This is an inflection.
Wait,
Yep.
we haven't done C. All right. This is the big one. Okay. I'm going to read this right from the regular agenda, which is listed as 5C, 2C. I'd like to move to approve a development and conveyance agreement, which is the DCA that you were referring to, with Vanderbilt Education Florida, LLC, for the planning, development, design, permitting, construction, operation, and maintenance of an educational campus, parens graduate campus, which will include approximately 5.03 acres of county-owned property located in the city of West Palm Beach. Ms. Kaufman, I'm reading it exactly from the agenda.
Let me add a couple things.
Okay?
Madam Mayor?
Commissioner Bernard.
Just want to make sure we add the Urban Lab Partnership as part of the motion, which is to include the 1,000 hours that was requested by Commissioner Weiss. That's on item 11.32 of the agreement.
Correct.
And then also, if we can clarify, just to make sure that the reverter recommendation by the PRC is not included in this motion. Just want to make sure.
Okay, just as, Ms. Kaufman.
I'm sorry, isn't this the motion that has to be subject to the parties' reasonable efforts?
Right.
Okay, I didn't hear that part in the motion.
Do you want me to say it again? I don't think so. But do all the parties understand what we are moving today to? Mr. Oyer? Mr. Seymour, yes.
So this is to approve the development and conveyance agreement with Vanderbilt for the planning, development, design, permitting, construction, operation, and maintenance of an educational campus, which will include approximately 5.03 acres of county-owned properties located in the city of West Palm Beach, subject to the reasonable efforts of the parties to
Agree.
reach the license agreements necessary to enable Transit Village to continue to use the properties on a temporary basis for parking, and subject to the,
No, not subject to. I think that was it.
and what about the 1,000?
Including.
Oh, and
the
including,
1,000.
yes, that's part of it.
Okay.
Using
and
the urban lab for at least 1,000 hours of community work as per
year.
Commissioner Weiss.
Okay.
Okay?
Now we're good.
All right, everybody good? Commissioner Bernard is good? If Commissioner Bernard is good, gonna make a motion on it. Mr. Oyer, it's good?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Seymour is good? All those for? Anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously, 7-0. Now we can say congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome to Palm Beach County.
No, nobody seconded it.
We
the
have a
record?
second, Commissioner Weiss.
Okay.
Commissioner Weiss.
She knows how to cover it.
Okay. Now, it's 12:23.
Yeah.
If, I know that Vanderbilt has a lot of talk in there in Tennessee, but if you could take your conversation outside before we change our minds.
Oh, okay.
Can we take a break?
Yeah, let's take
All right, it seems like the will of the commission is to take a break. And now it's 12:23. We have a little bit of work to do yet. Let me hear from what y'all want to do. I'm going to start with the vice mayor.
I was just actually going to say, let's take a short, 10-minute break. I know we have a lot of folks here for 5D1. I would hate for them to have to go out for an hour and come back for an hour. I would suggest we adjust the agenda to move them forward after a 10-minute break.
Okay, 10 minutes. Should we take 15 minutes?
Yes.
15 it is. All right, we're in break. Give me the time, 15 minutes.
Get some
from now.
coffee.
15. 45? At 12:45, we will resume the county commission meeting. Weiss, you did good.